If you've ever been super stoked for the MLB playoffs to begin, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and go Cubbies as they kick off their series at home against the Padres today. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. We have a looming government shutdown. We've got some news this morning on some movers. We're going to cover it all here today. It's, of course, a T3 Tuesday, so we have another guest here today. Hope that you all had a wonderful night. Hopefully you enjoyed the football, except for the gruesome knee injury for Tyreek Hill. Prayers up for him. Hopefully you all had a great Monday and you're ready to go because we're going to have some stuff to trade here today. Benzinga's pre-market playbook, the Tuesday edition for September 30th, the last day of September, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. As mentioned in the opener, I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Monday. We are back to trade some more stocks here today and make sense of all of the news that's going on out there. And it is, of course, great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Today, first is EKS. EKS getting it done on the regular. Good morning. It's good to see you. S&P 500 has now closed above its 50-day moving average for 103 consecutive trading days, the fifth longest streak in 35 years. I think the important takeaway there, EKS, is that if you turned really bearish on some of the news earlier in April, you missed a massive move. I think that also behooves us as active traders to remain active, even in the face of what looks like bad news, if you will. There's always opportunity out there. And if you're active and if you are kind of think through things and don't react with emotion, maybe stoic is the right word that I'm looking for there, there's money to be made. And we show that here every day. Looking forward to doing some more of that. Good morning, EKS. Zach, good morning. My watch lists are mostly read through pre-market, just a mental note. That weakness likely to be easier to find relative strength today. That's generally how we look at that. D-Pro, big news indeed, and we are going to cover Dragonfly here today. Good morning, Zach. Azrar, good morning. Glass half full, good morning. Kayla, good morning. Corey, good morning. Jay Grant, good morning. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Francis, good morning. Billy, good morning. Drone plays are hot. It's not just Ondas. It's not just RCAT. It's D-Pro. There's other drone plays out there. Drones have been a theme. We're going to keep trading it as long as it stays a theme. Producer who doesn't like baseball, he's back and ready to go. Graph, good morning. Wolf news. So we did get some more news about Wolf. This actually ended up being a pretty good mention yesterday, although with all of the halts and all of that, it was probably pretty difficult to trade. We'll break down Wolf here today so that you folks are prepared for that. Sorry, we were a little slow on that yesterday. Brian, good morning. Learn with Moses, good morning. Brandy, good morning. From the Golden Isles. Good morning from the Golden Isles from Brandy. Golden Isles, where is that? First, it sounds awesome. Sounds like you're on vacation. Love the energy that you're trading with. If you're trading from the Golden Isles, that's in Florida, right? San Simeon Island. You'll have to let me know. Good morning, Brandy. Thanks for joining us, even if you are on vacation. I hope the view is beautiful, and I hope the account is green today. Marty, good morning. Better be good today. It's a good donut day. We'll take that. Brian, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. JJ, good morning. Judge and Hoot, good morning. Durkus, good morning. Maverick, welcome back. Buffalo by Bicycle and Jane, welcome back. Kevin, Cam, and Dan, welcome back. Arhan and Day Trader, welcome back. Supri, good morning. It's good to see you again. Ryan, likewise. Cad Monkey, Abby, and Yes, That Girl, welcome back. Bobby G, Hector, and Neville, welcome back. Get Results Fitness Trainer, let's go. What a good name. Good morning. We're going to get results here today. That's for sure. Tara, good morning. It's good to have you back. Thank you. The wedding was excellent. I'm happy to be back, but good to see you again as well. MC Limage, good morning. Yassine, good morning. 3D, good morning. Buenos dias, 3D. Cam, good morning. San Simeon Island in Georgia. Okay, not Florida. Got it. Still probably pretty beautiful. Still probably pretty beautiful. Whis says he loves it there, so good stuff. White chocolate mocha and Whis, good morning. Big Bear Hug, good morning. Tanya, good morning. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to start here with the stock market today. All right, futures are red across the board here this morning for Tuesday, September 30th. S&P futures down 0.22% ahead of the open. Dow futures down 0.24%, and the NASDAQ futures down 0.19%. So pointing to a weaker open here. If we take a look at some cues from last session, information technology, financial, and consumer discretionary stocks recorded the biggest gains on Monday, leading most S&P sectors to a positive close. However, energy and communication services stocks bucked the overall market trend, closing the session lower. U.S. stocks settled higher, with the NASDAQ gaining more than 100 points. NVIDIA shares closed higher by around 2%, while other AI stocks, including AMD Advanced Micro Devices and Micron Technology, ticker MU, also recorded gains during the session. Robinhood Markets, ticker HOOD, surged 12% on Monday after CEO Vlad Tenev revealed on social media that more than 4 billion event contracts have been traded on the platform since launch. Major indices, meanwhile, recorded losses last week, with the NASDAQ Composite falling 0.7 and the S&P losing 0.3. The Dow also fell by 0.2 during the week. We have a government shutdown looming here as indices dropped as the possibility of a government shutdown neared, with lawmakers having until Wednesday at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time to reach an agreement. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance stated outside the White House that, quote, "I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing," end quote, placing the blame on Democratic leaders for linking the government funding and healthcare negotiations. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.13%, seems to have kind of stalled out around that area. We'll see if it pulls back at all. The 2-year bond yielded 3.60%. All right, we'll actually go back to the SPY chart here real quick before we take care of the insights from analysts here. Let me go ahead and share that. Here's where we're sitting in the morning. Really, we're just kind of in the same area that we've been in these past several days here. So I don't really have any new levels for you. First one here is going to be the high from yesterday. We've got that at 665 and a quarter, 665.28. That's going to be your first key level, followed by the all-time high of 667.34. Those both going to be your key upside levels. Otherwise, I suspect we probably pull back to the 20-day if we continue to pull back here. Got that level at 657.5 or 657.46. So basically looking at the 20-day moving average to determine if our trend is going to change at all. You can see if I zoom out here, the last several times really since April. All right. Once we traded above the 20-day here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that we've tested the 20-day, we've bounced all 6 times. So we'll see if this trend remains intact, or if we end up breaking that, that would set up several other lower areas that we would look for, starting with the 50-day down there at 645 and 3/4. All right, let's go back to some insights from analysts as we prepare you for the day ahead here. Economist Jeremy Siegel stated that last week's predictable inflation numbers were, quote, "exactly what markets wanted," end quote, signaling that the disinflation trend is holding firm and keeping the door open for the Federal Reserve to continue easing monetary policy. In his weekly commentary, Siegel noted that the personal consumption expenditures, or PCE, deflator met all expectations, suggesting that recent price pressures are due to, quote, "one-off tariff and policy effects rather than underlying demand," end quote. This stability gives the central bank room to lower interest rates further into an economy that is showing surprise resilience. Of course, I believe Trump posted on Truth yesterday that he expects a cut in October. We'll see. This combination of steady inflation and solid growth supports further rate cuts. Quote, I expect 225 bips cuts into year end, including at the October 29th meeting, end quote. So it looks like Siegel agrees with Trump here, adding that he would support continuing these small cuts through the first half of next year if conditions remain stable. He believes the Fed is, quote, easing into strength rather than reacting to weakness, end quote, a scenario that is highly favorable to the stock market. So I know that there's a lot of kind of back and forth here. And this kind of just goes back to one of my opening points here that none of us for sure know what's going to go on. I'm sure we all have our own inclinations and our own thoughts and our own hopes, but realistically, none of that matters. What matters is what the market does and how we trade that. I think just being active gives us an advantage here. My recommendation here, because I don't know what's going to happen, my recommendation is to stay nimble here, but don't necessarily run for the exits. Make sure that what you're doing is deliberate, and make sure you're synthesizing all of the information around you for whatever it is that you want to trade. While the overall outlook is positive, Siegel is monitoring 3 near-term risks. The economic bite of tariffs should become clearer in the Q4 holiday import data. That's number 1. Fiscal noise, including a potential government shutdown that could disrupt economic data releases. That's number 2. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And then the money supply, which he sees as, quote, the best assurance that today's inflation stability persists into 2025, end quote. However, he clarified that none of these risks none of these risks alter my baseline that the economy enters Q4 with momentum and inflation control. Given this backdrop, Siegel anticipates that equities could continue to outperform nominal bonds. He concluded that a steady glide path of 25 bips cuts supports cyclical stocks, quality value, and small caps, which should benefit disproportionately as financing conditions ease. Some of the things that he's saying there sound a lot like what Tim Melvin is going to say or has been saying. So it appears we have some overlap there. Of course, we're going to get Tim tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs chief global equity strategist, easy for me to say, Mueller Glissman and his team have identified 3 potential bears that could disrupt this equilibrium. A growth stock, which could result from increased unemployment or disappointments in AI. Secondly, a rate shock. I think I said a growth stock, a growth shock. Second is a rate shock in case the Federal Reserve doesn't implement further rate cuts. Lastly, a new dollar bear leading to a 10% devaluation of the dollar could deter foreign investors from the U.S. market. So we'll see if any of those near-term catalysts come up. Quick look at some of the economic stuff to keep an eye on today. Federal Reserve Vice Chair Philip Jefferson, he spoke already. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee speaks at 1:30 p.m. Eastern today. And July's S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index for 20 cities will be out at 9 a.m. September Chicago's Business Barometer will be released at 9:45, and the August job openings and September consumer confidence data will be announced at 10 Eastern. So we do have some economic prints here today, but I think all of that pales in comparison to the shutdown. I can't hear it, but I do see on CNBC now, Speaker Johnson is saying he's, quote, skeptical that we can avoid a shutdown. Brian here says, Vance said it's coming. I agree. It does look like we're going to get that here. But what does it mean? Really, what does it mean, and how can we trade it? That's next here. So we're actually going to start with that article here. And for anyone that wants this, I'll go ahead and throw this in the chat here in YouTube. You're welcome to use that, go through any of the data tables and stuff that are in here. With no full-year budget or stopgap deal in place, the U.S. government could shut down at 12:01 Eastern on October 1st. But if you think the stock market is bracing for chaos, think again. Betting markets now place the odds of a Wednesday government shutdown starting at as high as 65%. Looking at the last 11 U.S. government shutdowns, the S&P 500, as tracked by the Vanguard ETF VOO, actually posted gains in 8 of them. So 8 of 11, it was positive, rising an average of 1.46% across a 7-session window surrounding the events. So on the surface here, it looks bad. particularly because there's basically two sides bickering with one another. But if you actually just kind of strip the noise out and look at the performance, it's actually better than expected here. That's a 72% win rate during periods where most headlines scream catastrophic. And I think this is one thing that we should really kind of stay on top of here. We do a really good job of kind of synthesizing and reducing noise, I feel like. And I feel like this is just another case where we need to keep doing that. The historical record is clear. Shutdowns don't always spook Wall Street. Take the longest government shutdown in modern history, which ran from December of 2018 to January of 2019. During that stretch, the S&P 500 soared 11.92%, driven more by a rebound from oversold conditions than any fiscal alarm bells. In October of 2013, the S&P 500 climbed 2.65% during a 16-day shutdown, defying expectations of a market sell-off. The 1995 to 96 dual shutdown saga also saw positive momentum, with gains of 1.2 and 1.89% recorded during the two separate episodes. Only in October of 1990 did the markets truly stumble, with the index falling 3.57% amid broader recession fears unrelated to the shutdown itself. Of course, not every shutdown has sparked a rally, but the data shows no consistent pattern of market crashes. And I think that's going to be the key here. Using the data that we have, which is the best really indicator that we have of previous performance, it's not as bad as people think, and it certainly has no consistent pattern of crashes. So keep that in mind. Now, that's not a guarantee that we're going to trade up here, but it should set the stage and give you a little context for what we're looking at here today. The market's resilience doesn't mean that there are no economic consequences. According to Goldman Sachs economist Alec Phillips and Ronnie Walker, a shutdown starting on October 1st would likely result in the furlough of around 900,000 federal employees, or approximately 40% of the workforce, with delayed paychecks and interrupted services. However, Social Security checks and tax collections would continue. Goldman estimates the direct impact of furloughs would trim 0.15 percentage points off fourth quarter real GDP during the week, with a likely rebound in the first quarter of 2026 once operations resume. You know, part of me wonders if the government shut down, if they just didn't collect taxes during that period. Part of me wonders if we'd ever see a shutdown. Just some food for thought there. I don't have an answer for you. The impact on employment data may be more psychological than real. If furloughed workers are improperly classified as unemployed, the jobless rate could tick up 1 to 2 percentage points, according to historical patterns. A shutdown would also delay key economic data, including the October employment report, scheduled for release on October 3rd this week. If the shutdown stretches into mid-October or beyond, reports due in November may also be impacted. So that, I think, is the interesting cog in the wheel here, if you will, on the shutdown. And, you know, I'm not sure what that means for long-term prices at this time. Markets are forward-looking, and while shutdowns can dent short-term economic performance, they rarely trigger full-blown sell-offs. As the clock winds towards October 1st, history suggests investors might want to tune out the noise and watch what the S&P 500 actually does, not what the headlines predict. And this is exactly what I want to leave you folks with. I think Piero here, who's one of our better writers, literally hits this right on the nail. We're active. We're going to be there. We got Brandy here on vacation looking at the market. So all of us have just kind of a heightened awareness of what's going on. And I think right there, that gives us an advantage. So trade what you see in front of you, not what the headlines are telling you. I think that's a pretty good piece of advice here. I want to look into some more of this here real quick. Some of this is overlap, so I'm going to do my best to skip around and keep it fresh here. As mentioned, JD Vance said he believes the government shutdown is imminent. However, a recent market analysis from LPL Financial suggests that while a looming shutdown is cooling a recent market rally, any resulting downturn should be viewed as a buying opportunity, asserting that the long-term bull market is not in jeopardy. So let's go to those analyst comments here. Despite the political turmoil roiling Washington, financial analysts advise investors to look at the historical context LPL Financial's report notes that government shutdowns are typically short-lived with an average duration of 8 days. That data is calculated from 1976. The firm's chief technical strategist, Adam Turnquist, suggests that while markets are showing signs of weakness due to overbought conditions paired with diverging market breadth, a pullback could actually be healthy. And this is something that we've discussed here quite a bit as well. The recent report frames a potential decline as a tactical opportunity to buy the dip, especially ahead of what is historically a strong fourth quarter for stocks. The commentary's long-term outlook remains positive, reassuring investors that the fundamental drivers for the market are still in place. Quote, first and foremost, we don't think the bull market is at risk of ending, end quote. Directly from the report there. It points to strong earnings, a Federal Reserve rate cutting cycle, and sustained investment in artificial intelligence as key catalysts that should keep the bull market alive. Historically, investors have generally looked past these budget-related disruptions, focusing instead on broader economic trends and corporate earnings. However, the primary concern for financial markets, as highlighted by Jim Bianco, president at Bianco Research LLC, we actually heard from him yesterday, is not the shutdown itself, but the suspension of government services that produce vital economics statistics. Quote, the biggest financial market impact from a shutdown is the suspension of government-released economic data. This data blackout could have tangible consequences quickly. For instance, the critical September unemployment and payroll report, which is due Friday, October 3rd, would not be released if the government is closed. So just keep in mind where we're at. Again, I reiterate the same thing here. Be nimble. That nimbleness, that's a word, gives us an advantage. We'll make sure we take advantage of everything that we can. Goldman Sachs warns Wall Street's Goldilocks economy could soon meet three big bears. The Goldilocks big bear story here is alive and well. We'll go ahead and cover this. The Goldman Sachs analyst here says that investors are not ready for the shock. So I know we've got this government shutdown to really get through first here, but some other looming things on the horizon, and I just want you to keep those in mind. The global investment banking giant Goldman Sachs has raised concerns about a potential market shock that could disrupt the current Goldilocks economy. The term Goldilocks economy refers to a balanced economic scenario, not too hot to cause inflation or not too cold to cause growth. The S&P 500 index is currently near its all-time high, and investors are in high spirits. However, Goldman Sachs chief equity strategist Mueller Glissman and his team have identified three potential bears that could disrupt this equilibrium. We talked a little bit about those already. He noted that despite these potential shocks, none have materialized yet, though the risk of growth and interest rate shocks persist as year-end approaches. Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack shared a similar view, indicating she does not anticipate any major market downturn in the near term. The warning from Goldman Sachs comes amid ongoing discussions about a potential AI stock market bubble. The AI sector has been defying gravity, with companies like NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, at the center of this boom. Despite concerns about overvaluation, the AI market continues to grow, raising questions about the sustainability of this trend. Earlier in September, Bank of America strategist Michael Hartnett also sounded the alarm on a potential AI stock market bubble, citing historic valuation metrics. The S&P 500's price-to-book ratio hit a record high, surpassing levels seen during the dot-com bubble in 2000. Despite these warnings, the S&P 500 entered a historically strong fourth quarter with a warning sign for investors. While the fourth quarter typically delivers the best average returns, a strong year-to-date performance through September often leads to a flat or negative October, creating uncertainty for Wall Street. We've got a lot of stuff that we need to kind of navigate here, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And bringing on someone to help us navigate this is going to be our guest from T3. It's my pleasure to bring you Scott Bauer today. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Scott, good morning. Look, we're a day late. I was celebrating a victory Monday for our Bears all day yesterday. It was really good to see that. But now we turn our attentions to the government shutdown that is looming here. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, but I thought you were going to say that we're turning our attention to the Cubs today. We got a lot going on here.
We do have a lot going on. I was informed this morning by my producer who lives across the pond that, quote, baseball is so bleeding boring, end quote. So I opted not to go with that, but that's okay. He's a soccer fan, so we'll let him off the hook for that.
Exactly.
Oh, Cubbies, I'm ready to go.
Let's go. It's going to be an interesting few days here, obviously leading up to Friday's non-farm payrolls, which who knows whether we're going to get them or not, what the government does. And, I know that's the big question. Everybody's asking you, asking me, oh, should we buy the dip on if the government shuts down, right? Like there's a foregone conclusion that the market is going to sell off, which is not really necessarily the case here. So I think people, investors, traders, they've got to understand really the dynamics of the potential government shutdown. And one big thing that to me is kind of getting lost in the shuffle here a little bit is if this happens, it's not because they're coming up against a debt ceiling. In the recent past here, when there's been the threat of a government shutdown, it typically has been because of, oh no, there's a debt ceiling we've got to pass. That's not the case in this one. If it shuts down, is it the end of the world? No. Is it maybe bad for the markets? Probably not, unless it gets extended. Now, on the surface, it certainly doesn't look good, right? We don't want a government shutdown. I mean, that just kind of compounds some of the things that we have been experiencing. And, from the optics of it, it doesn't look great. But honestly, from a market performance standpoint, unless it's something that were to be really protracted, probably doesn't mean a lot.
Okay. Well, I got to say, you're probably the perfect guest to have on this day. So we're going to roll with it. Join Scott Bauer live today at 8 p.m. Eastern to show why he believes traders should embrace volatile markets. We've got a volatile event coming up. That's perfect. Using his time-tested option system that's designed to target volatility. Easy for me to say. Explosive profits, no matter what direction the stock moves. Folks, QR code on the screen there. We also threw the link in the chat there. So, Scott, as mentioned here, the last time that you were with us, it was at the end of July, I believe. We talked about the way that you trade, volatility, and all of that. So I'm going to start here right there. How are you trading the volatility around the government shutdown?
Yes, I'm looking for pockets. What do I mean by that? Now that we're past earnings season, so we're not necessarily seeing, individual stocks really hyped up with volatility before an earnings event. I am looking for those opportunities, whether it's in a sector or an individual stock right now, where there is some elevated volatility. And my go-to over the last, I'd say, week or so, and what I see happening over the next several weeks is typically an iron condor. That is my go-to strategy right now. Now that, my strategy is obviously like every trader, you've got to be dynamic, you've got to be adaptable, you've got to change every moment perhaps. But iron condors right now are strategies that are neutral. They can be slightly bearish, they can be slightly bullish. They have 100% defined risk. But what the goal of this is to see a stock remain somewhat range bound. Again, you can create this to have a bullish, bearish bias or completely neutral. But it's the best time, in my opinion, to put these on. And I'm always doing them from the short side. So I'm always selling them when you do see a pop in some volatility. For example, one that we did, and this is full disclosure here, and I'm still in the position, though I've taken half of it off. Bloom Energy, BE. Last week, this stock got absolutely shellacked. You can see it on your screen there. And it came down to some really, really big support. So what we did, because as the stock came down and volatility really exploded on that day, we sold an at the money put spread at the time. So it was like stock was trading around 67-ish or so. We sold the 66, 62 put spread that expires this week. And on the upside, we also sold a call spread just to get even more premium. So we sold the 75.78. Yes, it was $4 wide on the put side, $3 wide on the call side. So what we were looking for there was a stock to remain range bound between that support, which was right around 66, and then what the market expected move was, which is something I cover in my webinar tonight, which was right around 75. So this was bullish leaning, but completely risk defined. And because of the volatility in this, this is just an example. We sold this thing for $2.50 credit. Now, the worst that could ever happen, the worst that could ever happen in a position like this is if the stock went down here
Mhm.
below 62 at expiration, and this thing would be worth $4. So I collected 250. I might have to pay out for potential loss of $1.50. That reward to risk on something like this, out of the park. Absolutely out of the park here. And so we took half of the trade off yesterday as BE took a nice run to the upside. And now we'll probably let the rest simmer for the rest of this week. But there are pockets of opportunities like this right now that I am looking at. That is really what I am focused on just over the next couple of weeks until we get back to the next earnings cycle, which, oh my God, here we are. It starts in just a couple of weeks again.
And it's going to be in Q4, which is traditionally the strongest quarter of the year. So that's good. Cam here from our chat says, I'm planning to sell in panic. I don't know if Scott has a better plan than that. You'll have to forgive our sense of humor here. It's a bit of an acquired taste here, especially in the case with Cam. Scott does have a better plan, and he just started to articulate it. We're going to ask some more about that. But folks, be sure to join Scott Bauer live today at 8 p.m. Eastern to show why he believes traders should embrace the volatile markets using his time-tested option system designed to target potentially explosive profits no matter which direction a stock moves. Okay,
You read that
so
well.
yeah, all I needed was a little bit of practice there, and then we were able to get it. That's a longer one. But you're conveying a lot of stuff there. And like I said, the timing could not be any better on this. So we're going to make sure we drive that home here. You gave us an example here with Bloom Energy. I've got a question for you about some other potential ones, just to hear what you think here. And sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, but that's what I do around here. What do you think about IBM, Intel, or Palantir coming into a shutdown? Thought here is that these have big connections with the government. Perhaps some of these contracts or services won't be paid or won't be performed. And as a result, this could kind of bleed through to the bottom line, maybe at some of those earnings reports. You have any thought like that? I gave you three names here, IBM, Intel, and Palantir. But if you have other names, you're welcome to take it that way as well.
No, those are real interesting names because they have been tied to government contracts and then the big government investment in Intel recently here. So there is some concern over those. I think, though, we have to, again, take a step back and say, okay, if the government shuts down here, historically, what happens, right? How long is it going to last? What contracts may or may not get shut off here? I think, to me, IBM is the one most at risk here.
Okay.
Also because if you look at the charts here, IBM just filled a big gap to the upside. It is trading up at some, near some really big resistance. That resistance I'm looking at my charts here is, 285 to 290 area. The stock closed 280 yesterday. So naturally, there would be some potential selling pressure there anyway, because there's some big resistance up there. So that one I see could be at some temporary risk. When I say risk, temporary risk, right? My outlook is not, honestly, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road. I'm not an investor, I'm a trader. So that's what I am looking at there. Intel's really hard to tell because you look at those charts and it's just, a straight shot to the moon here. It's one I've stayed away from. My trader senses, my spidey senses tell me that I'd probably want to, if anything, play this a little bit to the short side. Not short meaning it's going back to 23, 24 area, but just, kind of sell any rally on that. And Palantir is one that if we were to see a dip, if we were to see, a shutdown really affect those contracts there, that one I'm ready to scoop in and buy. Even though the stock has been unbelievable, you've got some major support right below 167, 168 area, I think, which is the 50-day moving average, which if you bring that up on a chart, you will see for the last 6 months, let's see, yeah, basically the last year or so, that has been just a really defined entry point. So that's one that I would have on my radar, ready to scoop in if something happened there.
Okay, real good stuff on there. And then one more thing here, just to kind of clean it up on Intel. We do have a target to the upside here. It's derived from a trend line that originates in April of 2021, and it basically goes through the high of December of 2023. That gives us a
45.
potential. What's that?
No, I was looking on my charts here like you're doing.
Yeah, that gives us a potential area anywhere between $39 and $40. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go there, but the trend lines have been pretty good for us. That would be the upside target that I have here on Intel. I got another question here. This is actually something that our happy hour group discussed last night, and I'm wondering if you have any insight on this. We just talked about IBM, Intel, and Palantir potentially not being able to satisfy contracts and such. But what about airlines? Because don't air traffic controllers get furloughed during this? Possibility of flights getting canceled, maybe bookings changing, maybe that bleeds through to the next earnings report. What do you think about any of the airlines here?
That one may be way beyond my level of
Okay.
comprehension. And I say that only because there's been so much uproar, so much chaos, I would say, with air traffic controllers. The amount of people that, that have been already let go, that to me would be somewhat of an essential position and may not get affected in a
Okay.
scenario like this, just because of all the chaos that we've experienced. So if I get into a situation of a sector or a particular area of the market that I think there's a question mark, I'm just going to stay on the sidelines and watch it. I'm not going to, step my foot into something that I don't want to step in. I'd rather just miss the opportunity and find a different one.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Just wanted to bring that up with the
Sure.
government shutdown looming. You know,
That
the
makes
last
sense.
the last time that you were with us, you talked about arbitrage trading. Do you have any arbitrage plays that you're looking to going into this?
There are some right now, and I think the example that I made with Bloom Energy, and that one doesn't have necessarily a huge beta or correlation to the overall market, but we are starting to see some stocks here tick up in volatility while the VIX remains somewhat muted. I know the
Mhm.
VIX is, ticking a little bit higher, but the VIX at 16, 17 is still relatively muted, and the volatility in the S&Ps and the Qs is still relatively muted. So, I look at some of the stocks that have a pretty decent correlation or beta to the overall market. Obviously, you can look at your Nvidias and
Mhm.
Microsofts, Alphabets, and look at those and say, okay, especially Google. And I'm looking at, I always look at Google with the L on the end because it is just a much more liquid options market to trade than just Goog itself.
You know what?
You're,
That's really let me stop you there. That's really interesting. I've always kind of gone after GOOG, but you're saying there's more liquidity in the GOOGL
I've
coin.
always traded the GOOGL. I've just found there to be tighter markets and more in deeper markets. If you look,
Interesting. That's a nice
yeah,
little
I mean,
tip. Thank you.
but that's why Heinz has 57 varieties, right?
That's right. And Baskin
We can
Robbins
all
has
look at
31
our.
flavors.
It's right. We can all look at our, same picture and come up with a different analysis and both be right. But if I look at Google, it's got pretty elevated implied vol, especially for not going into an earnings period. I know there's, all sorts of news, antitrust, blah, 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 blah. But that's one here that implied vol, with the exception of the big spike back, at Liberation Day here, we're looking at really, really expensive implied vol. So that's one you might want to look at and say, hey, maybe I buy something in the Qs, right? Maybe I buy a strangle in the Qs, a straddle in the Qs, and hedge that with selling premium in Google because that beta is so close to one another. And because there is a pretty big dynamic divergence in implied volatility there.
Okay.
That's called a pairs
Yeah.
trade, PAIRS, not the fruit pear for those that don't know. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all trade, but that's the kind of thing that I'm looking at here. I'm looking for that divergence.
Yeah, that's perfect. We're basically looking for any different setups that we can take a look at. That is phenomenal. Folks, join Scott Bauer live today at 8 p.m. Eastern to show why he believes traders should embrace the volatile markets using his time-tested option system that designs to target potentially explosive profits no matter the direction the stock moves. Okay, really, really good stuff here, Scott. Do you have anything else for us? Anything that you're thinking, anything that you're looking for? Maybe what you think's going to happen with the Cubs game today? I'll let you take this anywhere you want.
Well, with the Cubs, I'm, I guess, optimistically cautious or cautiously optimistic.
I'm with you on that.
If they get through this series, I'm a season ticket holder. I'm not going to either of these games, or hope if there's a game 3 Thursday, I'm not going, because waiting till they get to the next round. If they don't get there, they don't get there. If they do, wonderful. So I am very, very cautiously optimistic there. I think that looking at some of the real hot sectors, nuclear and quantum, sectors here, you look at those stocks that have just taken off. And I'm going to name 2 real quickly here: Ionic, IONQ, and Oklo. You've got Oklo on the screen.
Yep.
Again, 100% full disclosure. I got short both of those last week. Our students got short both of those last week. Not short outright the stock, but just short through some put spreads and stuff. And I think they're now retreating back to the point that we're looking to take that off. I'm not saying necessarily take a long position in either of those yet, but I could see those starting to calm down, especially Oklo right around that 110 area. That put in a lot of volume there the other day, right around 110, 111 in Oklo, which that was great for our position. And the same with Ionic. Ionic sub 60. If it gets, to 60, sub 60 here, absolutely somewhere I want to close out my position. There I might want to reverse it and take a long position, because I do think both of those sectors, even though they got way ahead of themselves here, I do think there's a lot of upside. So there is the possibility of, kind of, I guess you would say, buying on a dip. You could sell the rip and buy on the dip in the same week with both of those.
I'll tell you what, your Ionic trade, it's almost like I had this pre-charted here, again, with another topside trend line here. That move down to 60, or maybe overshooting it a little, would backtest that trend line, perfect for a potential reversal trade.
Yep.
Really good stuff there. Okay, Scott, this is a perfect day. You did great, as always. Really appreciate it. Of course, go Cubbies. We'll see how that goes. And if you ever, can't find somebody to go to the game with you, give me a ring.
You know where to meet me.
You got it, Scott. Scott, really good stuff here. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you next time. We'll see how the government shutdown trade takes place. Ryan. You got it. That is Scott Bauer from T3. T3 guys are on top of it. Literally, that could not have been more perfect in terms of the timing. Really excited for that. Gave you some pretty good ideas here. Looks like Lion Atlas also shorted with Scott last week. That's pretty cool to see. Lion, banking on that. Iowa Hawkeye Sports says CPA is going yard twice. No, the accountant is not going yard twice. PCA, our stud center fielder, I would love it if he goes yard twice here today. Okay, folks, there was good stuff there from Scott. Before we bring 13 on here, there is one more thing that I wanted to mention, and it's going to be regarding the AirPods from Apple. We'll start by taking a look at Apple's chart here. We've got a nice looking bull flag here on the daily. I suspect, just sticking with our theme of trend lines, I suspect we probably trade higher here, test this trend line around 262, maybe 261 to 262 here for your next upside move in Apple. This is what the chart looks like. We've made a pretty good run, but I did want to cover this news story here. AirPod Pro is going to be a sneaky AI device which could make mass market breakthrough for Apple. This comes from Anthropic's Mike Krieger. On Monday, Anthropic's chief product officer, Mike Krieger, said that Apple's AirPods Pro could quietly become one of the mass market AI devices. Speaking on TBPN following Anthropic's latest AI model launch, Krieger announced that consumers may be overlooking the role AirPods could play in mainstream AI adoption. Now, my MacBook Pro, I love that computer, and I have AirPod Pro 2 for those dedicated to that machine, which makes it real easy. This type of thing, whatever these features are, this is exciting. In particular, if the live translate feature, there's a number of things here that could be pretty good. So I just wanted to cover this here real quick. He goes on to say, quote, I think the AirPod Pro is going to be like the sneaky AI device that actually does the mass market. Krieger said, noting how seamlessly voice-driven interfaces could evolve into everyday AI assistants. It's not a super controversial take. He added that workplaces could also transform with employees delegating tasks to AI using tools like sub-vocalization devices now in development. I'll tell you what, if I could delegate some of my more remedial tasks that I have to do on a daily basis to AI, I would be one happy camper. And if my AirPod Pros are the gateway to doing that, giddy up. I'll take another bite from that apple. What if an AI could remind users that they skipped a topic that was meant to be covered, or flag when there's a lot of disagreement in the room? I think both of those might be handy for our show here. Such capabilities, he suggested, may not require complex new hardware, but will demand AI to integrate more naturally into human workflows. For anyone that wants to actually listen to a clip here, or maybe go through the entire pod, link there is in the description. And then also here earlier in the day, Anthropic unveiled Claude Sonnet 4.5, describing it as the company's most advanced model yet, backed by Alphabet. And we'll stick with what Scott just told us here, GOOGL, or GOOG, and Jeff Bezos's Amazon, ticker AMZN. The startup said that the system excels at coding, business tasks, and specialized areas such as cybersecurity, finance, and research. According to benchmarks like SWE Bench Verified, Claude Sonnet 4.5 is currently, quote, the best coding model in the world, end quote, the company said in a press release. Krieger also explained that one challenge Anthropic faces is tuning AI responsiveness. Earlier versions, he said, were, quote, too eager, end quote, making unnecessary changes, while later ones were, quote, too lazy, requiring users to push them forward. So with Claude Sonnet 4.5, Anthropic aimed for what Krieger called, quote, the right blend of eagerness and laziness to ensure the model is useful but not overwhelming. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here with Apple. Like I said, we've talked ad nauseum, frankly, about some of the lacking AI innovation and features from Apple's ecosystem. We'll see if maybe the AirPod Pro helps that out. The one thing that I'm going to be looking for here, and this is just selfishly, I am hoping that if they do release some of these AI features, they're going to work with existing AirPods, and you won't have to buy the AirPod Pro 3 that they release for Christmas. I don't even know if they're doing that. I'm just saying that I hope if they release some of these features, it'll be integrated into some of the existing hardware and will not require a hardware upgrade. All right, let's bring on 13. Let's check in how he's doing. 13. Oh, his camera's frozen. Okay, so he's probably restarting. Let me just send him a message here. Camera is frozen. Try again. Okay, we'll get 13 on here in a second. Let me actually go through some of the comments here real quick. I know I missed quite a bit. Oh, producer, his camera's frozen because you guys didn't like the stream. Okay, get some of those likes up. We'll kick the frozen camera out. And producer, let me know when we do get above 100, not at 100, but above 100. And then we'll bring 13 on. Until then, no 13. Bonjour, Smoked Tuna. Welcome back. Look, if we get volatility today, Tuna is going to be someone that could really, really get stuff done. Okay. Oh, okay. So 13 looks like he's having a computer problem. Appreciate him reaching out. I'm sure he'll be able to fix that. We'll bring him on as soon as we can, but help his computer problem by smashing up that like. Let me see what else I missed here. Sorry, I just wanted to scroll back a little bit. First of all, good morning to everyone that I may have missed. Anne-Marie Band, Lion Atlas, James, Mark, Mama Bear, hey now, anyone that Smoke Tuna, anyone that I might have missed. Good morning here. Good morning, Izzy. Good morning, Market Sniper. Okay, we got a lot to go through here. We're going to hopefully have a lot of opportunity here. Ryan says, wishful thinking, Rye, you know you'll have to buy new ones. Yeah, that's what it is wishful thinking without a doubt. Good morning, Russ. Good to see you. Big of Bees, good morning. You know what, Izzy, let's just start with those. That we can start with the two drone stocks here. We're going to start with DPro, which had some news here this morning. Let's take a look at this. Here's what your chart looks like. You can see today, really awesome chart formation. We actually busted above this resistance area here at about 7:30. Looks like we're holding right up around $8. If I look to the left a little bit more, it sure looks like 913 would be the next area of resistance. Let's call that 9 to 915. That I would guess. Let's take a look at the news here. Dragonfly shares are trading higher after the company was selected by the U.S. Army to provide flex FPV drone systems. U.S. Army contract. That actually sounds pretty awesome here. We suspected that there was news coming, but I don't think we knew that this was it. This looks pretty good here. Let's take a look at the PR and see if there's anything in here. Okay, so this seems like kind of a general one. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of numbers or anything in this. I'm looking through this here real quick. Okay, so I don't see any numbers in this, but nonetheless, that definitely sounds good here for DPro. We're holding higher here by 16%. If we take a look at the chart, this actually looks pretty good. And if we look inside here, you can see that the pullbacks basically brought us to a consolidation or support area, and then it held. Here. So I would say as long as it holds here again, I still think maybe a move up to 850 or even the pre-market highs still on deck here. So we'll see here on DPro. The other drone stock that had some news is going to be UMAC. That's Unusual Machines. Here's what this looks like in the pre-market. This did a good job trading higher yesterday. We actually took out those highs. Looks like about 1450 was that high area. And we were able to take that out here so far. Let's take a look at the, let's take a look at the daily chart here real quick. This also looking pretty good, 1456. We do have some resistance up here at 15. And if we look to the left, this resistance actually goes back to January of earlier this year. So coming up to another resistance level here, we'll see if this ends up breaking it. What's the news, you ask? Well, I'm glad that you asked. Unusual Machines secures a $12.8 million defense order supplying Strategic Logic's RRSL drone system. So, okay, $12.8 million defense order. It is worth noting here, the cap on Unusual Machines here, $430 million. So by contrast here, it's not gigantic like we see with some of these, but nonetheless, this is absolutely good news here. Float on this one's just shy of 30 million. I know we've traded this one before. Looks like we've got another catalyst here. We've got a really nice kind of uptrend that we're in since the sideways area ended back in May. We do have a series of higher lows here. And higher highs, so it does look like the trend is intact. Looks like maybe we'll test that 15, maybe even 16 here today. If we end up getting that. So really good stuff there with some of the drone names. We'll see how these end up taking off, or we'll see if these end up taking off here. So, okay, really good stuff on that. Still no 13 here, so might have to fly solo on this one. I know computer problems, they suck, and they suck. He is not happy that he's not here to go through that stuff with you, but we will press forward here, and we will keep hoping that he is able to join. Before I do the movers list, I actually did notice here you did suggest two stocks here, CoreWeave and Meta. Apparently there's news there. We'll take a look at that. And then also ABAT. We'll take a look at that. Lion here. Good morning, Lion. It says UMAC looks good. So actually, Lion, I agree with you. I actually think the chart looks pretty good here. And now we got a pretty good piece of news. What do you think about the size of the contract? Just the name makes me bullish. Okay. Good stuff there. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at CoreWeave and Meta. Billy was saying that there's news here. Here's what CoreWeave looks like. CoreWeave trading higher by just about 10% here in the pre-market. You can see we basically came off of this support area that we had about 120. Today here, up 12 plus points here. Actually looks like we're coming into a resistance area here as well. Let's call that 136 to what? 140. So 136 to 140 looks to be an area of resistance here that we are about to test. If we take a look inside, this is what it looks like. Here's the news. CoreWeave shares are trading higher following reports suggesting the company secured a $14 billion deal with Meta. Also, Evercore ISI initiated coverage on the stock with an outperform rating and $175 price target. Really sweet timing there from our Wall Street friends. So let's actually take a look at this and see. Here is the contract. They highlighted AI demand here. Oh, I've got all types of things. Thank you. Here's one quote. They loved our infrastructure in earlier contract. This is the CoreWeave CEO referring to Meta. They loved our infrastructure in earlier contracts and came back for more. So this actually does look pretty good. I almost wonder how much more opportunity there is for companies to, quote, come back for some more. CoreWeave here responding nicely. Let me know, does anyone have a trade plan here on CoreWeave? Is anyone interested in trading this on this news? Here, if we look inside, this 138 area looks to be a pretty significant resistance level. We'll see if we end up testing that here today. But this is what I got here on CoreWeave. Let's also take a look at Meta. Let's see if they're responding to this news. Meta looks like this is up just about 0.3 here in the pre-market. You know, it did pop here on that news, it looks like. Let's see. Yeah, looks like it did here. So, okay. Meta and CoreWeave, the clear winner here so far. Let me know if any of you folks have a trade on that or if you're looking to do that. David says, along with CoreWeave, Cores gets a little bit of a bounce also. David, that is such a good mention. We've talked about that a lot when we've taken a look at CoreWeave here. Here's Cores, much more affordable. CORV is your ticker. This absolutely responding to the CoreWeave news here. This actually popped above the high that we put in on Thursday too. So this looks pretty good here. This looks pretty good. Lion here says, I'm long CoreWeave. Lion, let me know if you have a price target on that or what the exit plan is here. As far as CoreWeave goes, Tennis is Life saying 139 is massive resistance on the daily. I think that 138 to 139, maybe even extend that to 140. That makes a lot of sense. Day Trader also saying that 139.20 is a significant fib level on CoreWeave. Also disclosing that he has no position here. So really good stuff, group. 139, that would definitely be the area to look at here. Let me ask you folks, given the news, given the bullish move, given the 10% move higher here, does anyone think we go to that 139? Also here, Anne-Marie saying there's a call wall here in CoreWeave at 140. So folks, all of the signs are pointing to the exact same thing here. Sure looks like that 138-ish to 140 area is going to be significant resistance. Do you folks think we go test that here? I mean, God, we're only 4 or 5 points away from that. Seems like that could very easily happen here, and then we'll see if we end up breaking through that. Okay. Still no 13. Boy, he must have a serious computer issue. I hope all is well. Let me go ahead and start with the movers here. And we'll go through all of these. I'll get you as prepared as possible for them, and then we'll take a look at the at whatever's next here. All right, we talked a little bit about DPRO and we talked a little bit about UMAX. So I think I'm just going to start with some of the other movers here, and I'd love to get your opinions on any of these. Also, ABAT. Someone was asking about ABAT. We'll take a look at that. We did take a look at Oklo with Scott Bauer earlier today, so that was cool. I know one of you here is talking about Oklo. We already took a look at that. I'm sure we'll look at that again. But let's roll through these lists here. First one here is going to be EPOW. That's Sunrise New Energy. Ticker is EPOW. Echo Papa Oscar Whiskey. Sunrise New Energy shares are trading higher after the company announced its subsidiary, Sunrise New Energy Materials, was granted U.S. patent number, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read all those. Titled, A Preparation Method of an Anode Material for Lithium-Ion Batteries. Boy, that is probably required reading for everybody here. Just kidding. Nonetheless, this is popping here on Patent News. I think that's really all you need to know here. Some of these patent pops are very, very short-lived. Looks like this has already retraced 50+% of it. And judging by the pre-market chart here, it actually looks like it wants to roll over and try and break this 127 support that we made from the after hours. So maybe EPOW does break down here and come in a little bit more. This popped in the after hours, tried to pop again here in the pre-market. Didn't really have a whole lot going on. Short interest check on this one, 0.07% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That is pretty negligible. Float on this, 18.8 million. On average, stock trades 600,000 shares. Today it's traded just shy of 24 million. I'll be honest with you, just kind of looking at this one, looking at the price action, looking at the piece of news here, not my favorite mover on the day. I would much prefer to trade DPro and UMAC, which we already covered here. Also, CoreWeave, even that move up to 140 would be pretty good. I don't necessarily like this. The one thing I will say about this is that maybe this one does just kind of hold, and then later on in the day, we get a little bit of a volume expansion into that, and it moves higher. We'll see. Not my favorite here, EPOW. Next on this list is ticker CRE. Charlie Romeo Echo is your ticker there. This is Create Enterprise. Looks like this was a penny stock that is graduating to dollar territory and ramping as we speak. Create Enterprise, sole financial printing provider for the Zijin Gold International. 3.2, what on earth is this? 3.2 billion HKEX mainboard IPO. Trading begins September 30th. So today. Printing provider Zijin International begins trading here today. Okay. So this is going to be a Hong Kong IPO. Zijin Gold is a wholly owned subsidiary of Zijin Mining. This one, don't love this one either. Let's see here. Engaged in integrated financial planning services for listed companies in the capital market in Hong Kong. Okay, so we've got a Chinese, what do we call this? Integrated financial services provider here. This is popping on one of the IPOs for Zijin Gold. So this is popping because one of its clients here is IPOing. We'll just do the rundown here on this one. I'll start here with the float. 13.23 million shares in the float. On average, stock trades 2.2 million shares. Today, it's traded 10. Take a look at the short interest here. Pretty negligible, right? 0.63% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Pretty much nothing there. This being just one of those names directly linked to China, I will definitely stay away from this one. Again, just kind of going back to some of the other stocks that are moving here today, I would rather trade all of those. DPro, UMAC, CoreWeave, Cores, maybe even Meta on that. Market Sniper here, really appreciate this. CRE was a pump and dump in August. Kind of feels like that, right? I know it was a penny stock and it's graduating here. If we zoom in, I don't really see a whole lot going on in August, but that might just be because of there we go. So looks like this did get pumped. Looks like it stopped around 150, came all the way back into 50 cents. Yikes, popping here today. Exercise caution with this one. If this is something that you're looking for, good luck. I will definitely stay away from this. Yes, we're definitely going to talk about Wolf. We're going to definitely do these next 4 here, maybe even 5 with Path. So got a lot to run down here. Next one here is going to be SciSpark. This is one that we've recently seen move. We should all be familiar with this as we've recently traded it together. This is ticker SPRC. We popped in the after hours up to about 768. And lo and behold, today when the market opened, in the pre-market, we traded right up to that same level, found resistance, sold off, lost the VWAP really quickly, made one pretty pathetic, I'll call it a Bengals-like attempt, LOL, for that game last night, to reach the VWAP, really couldn't do it. Now we've broken down beneath that low. We'll see if we end up holding the low from the after hours here. I got to think 550 is probably your low spot here that you really don't want to see break. As far as SciSpark goes, let's see what the news is here. SciSpark, MitoCareX merger with N2 off was approved by shareholders. So I think this was stuff that we got yesterday in the after hours. Indeed, SciSpark shares are trading higher after the company announced that the N2 off stockholders voted and approved the proposed acquisition of its majorly owned subsidiary, MitoCare BX. Now, I'm not sure what that does. Here, MitoCareX is focusing on the development of novel therapies for hard-to-treat cancers by targeting proteins belonging to the mitochondrial SLC25 protein family. MitoCareX's drug discovery activities rely on the ability to reliably generate 3D comparative models for its proteins of interest. Okay, so they're approving this merger. That looks good. Stock's holding higher here by 32%. What I think we should lean on here as traders, what have we seen from the stock before? What kind of behavior have we seen from the stock before? Last time we traded SciSpark was Thursday of last week. We saw a huge pop in the pre-market, followed by a huge pop in the regular session early, and then basically nothing until today. All right, so I say all that to say if you don't catch this move early, be careful, maybe have a quick stop, keep yourself protected. This did bounce here. I would say that this move here from 540 back to 620, yeah, that's a tradable move, but good Lord, you had to wait almost all day for that to happen, and it happened fast. There's probably easier targets for us here today. Just for a reminder on SciSpark's share structure here, it's got 22.9% of its float shorted with 1 day to cover, and that float, that share structure I just talked about, super, super low float, 530,000 shares in the float. That's probably why we see these really kind of crazy moves here. On average, stock trades 3.9 million shares. Today, it's traded 12.8 million shares. We'll see if SciSpark gives us a trade here today, but that's what's going on. Okay. No, so Learn with Moses, 13's computer must be doing a firmware update. He didn't say anything about an update. He was talking about crashes. And he's not sure what it is, so I'm sure he's still trying to diagnose that. I know he'll join here as soon as possible if he does, in fact, figure that out. Sorry about the technical glitches. That's just kind of what we deal with here occasionally. It is what it is. Let's just hope everything's okay. We can get him on as soon as possible. Next, thing I wanted to cover here is Wolf, and definitely. We saw this moving yesterday. Big time shout out to the chat. You guys were on this. There were a number of you. It was Izzy. I'm sorry, I can't remember everybody, but there were a bunch of folks that were talking about Wolf moving yesterday. I know we really didn't have the news. Big B says there was a major Microsoft update last night, and I had a firmware update too. Interesting. Let me tell him that real quick because I'm not sure if he knows about that. Microsoft had a huge update last night and forced a firmware upgrade for many viewers. Okay. I'm glad I didn't get hit by that. I think my computer automatically updates, but I don't remember any problem. Anyway, let me get back to Wolf here. Appreciate that. Appreciate all of you looking out there in the chat. That is awesome. With Wolf here yesterday, we had the huge move here. I know initially we were kind of like, is this like a incorrect print or anything like that? No, appears it wasn't. Shout out to all of you that were taking a look at this. If you guys traded this yesterday, oh my God, really good stuff. It was extremely difficult. It was nothing more than a halt fest. Hopefully we have better trading action here today. Wolfspeed shares are trading higher after the company on Monday announced a reorganization plan with shareholders receiving receiving substituted new common stock. Here we go. Sanjay, though, I was not an old stockholder, so I have no firsthand experience with this. Sanjay, it sounds like you were. Wolf shafted the old shareholders, 1,000 shares brought down to 8 shares. So that's what's going on. That's why you saw the price go so high. This is really good information, Sanjay. This is not, I was not aware of this. So basically, if you add 1,000 shares of Wolf, prior to this reorganization, you now have 8 shares. That is absolutely brutal. We can see here that Wolf actually did drift up in the aftermarket yesterday, popped again here today. It's come back in, but it's playing with the VWAP. So again, I'm hoping here that maybe this trades a little bit better today than yesterday. Let's see if there's anything in here that we can kind of pick through on the PR. Wolfspeed has reduced its total debt by approximately 70%. With maturities extended to 2030 and lowered its annual cash interest expense by roughly 80%. In addition, the company believes that it maintains ample liquidity to continue supplying customers with leading silicon carbide solutions. With its self-funded business plan supported by free cash flow generation, Wolfspeed is positioned to leverage a vertically integrated 200 millimeter manufacturing footprint underpinned by a secure and scalable US-based supply chain. Okay, so the reorganization looks like they were doing that to clear a bunch of debt and interest expense. And they were successful in doing that in the process, rooking the old shareholders here. Lion here, he's just telling you what you think here. Wolf is a fraud, and he's not touching it. For those of you that are interested in this is what's going on. But I gotta say, you really, really need to be careful here. You really, really need to be careful. Terra here sounds like they're going to go bankrupt. If I recall correctly, we actually already dealt with bankruptcy headlines with this name. Pretty sure, didn't I? Feel like that wasn't even all that long ago. Wolfspeed's plan of reorganization confirmed, clearing path to emerge from a restructuring process as financially stronger. That was from early September. Yep, they were emerging from Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So it looks like they're already trying to clean that up here. Clara, I agree with you on the surface. None of this is great. Smoke tuna. Smoke tuna casually reminding us that we make money from fraud around here. That's true. Can't argue with facts, Tuna. That is for sure. That being said, though, just know what's going on here. Know what you're buying. If you're able to trade this, that's great. If it's a day trade, you probably get some opportunities here today. Hopefully it's better than the halt fest we saw yesterday. But know what we're trading here. Jay here, you're saying that that bankruptcy came in July. I think you're probably right on that. I'm trying to find the actual PR here. But we hit it. We've got it. We got it anyway here. Yeah, here we go. It was June 30th into July 1st, Jay. God, you got a really good memory. You're really, really sharp memory there from the chat. Okay, so that's what's going on with Wolf here. Sorry, we didn't have all that for you yesterday, but we do have it here today. We are trading above the VWAP, but again, folks, just be careful with this. Be careful with this. Another one that I wanted to cover here real quick. We will go to Stack, but I wanted to cover AIIO. This is one that Tuna has actually called for us. Pretty sure. I know I traded this. I'm fairly certain that there were several other folks that made some pretty good money off AIIO. I think it was right in here too, Tuna, right? Middle of September. Pretty sure it was right in this action here. Nonetheless, we are trading up here again. Kathy, I think you were bringing this up here this morning. Good stuff. If you were already in this is, of course, Robo AI. They secured a $300 million convertible note agreement with Burkhan Capital. That's the news here today. That's popping the stock by about 30%. Looks like we're holding right about 245. Looks like maybe we'll deal there with 250. If we take a look here, remember, I wasn't here on Friday. You guys will have to let me know if you traded this on Friday. It does look like there was some pretty significant prior resistance that also turned into support around this 235. That area here is already back in play here today. So we'll see if it can hold 235 to the upside. If we zoom in here, I've got the VWAP at 237. Boy, those two spots are lining up quite nicely here already today. So we'll see there on AIIO as a reminder here in the short interest, 0.09% of the float shorted. That comes on 1 day to cover. Average volume here, 9.3 million. Today, it's already traded 5.6. I think we're easily going to get above the average here today. Smoke Tuna says, nothing solid here today. I would be cautious. I mean, for the most part, I would agree with that. I think the best of the group are DPro, UMAC, and CoreWeave. We'll see if we get setups on that. But really, with what Tuna's saying here, nothing else really looks great. Nothing else really looks great here today. Lion saying that 13 talks trash about China too much. They got angry and they struck his computer. That, you know what? He's going to need a laugh, Lion. So I'm actually going to send him that in the hopes that when he does get this all fixed, he has a nice little laugh about that. We'll see. Okay. Let me keep. How are we doing on time here? Oh, we got 15 minutes. Boy, we got plenty of time. Don't forget, I did not forget about ABAT. I'll get there. Don't worry. Next year is going to be Stack, though. This is ticker STAK. This is a penny stock yesterday. It went into dollar territory in the after hours. It's doing its absolute best to hold here, but it's trading higher on no news. So be careful with this one. Thank you, producer. Float 2.2 million, 5.9% short, average of 533,000 shares. Today we've traded 11 million plus. So pop here on no news. It's bled back a lot of the gains. It's really been unable to get above the VWAP and show any type of strength. I think until that story changes here, this one's probably a back burner trade. Here. All right, next here, IBG. This is one that we have not covered yet, although we have traded this one before. This is Innovation Beverage Group, ticker IBG. Indigo Bravo Golf is your ticker there. Shares are trading higher on no news. Thank you again, producer here. Float 200,000. Is that true? No. Float here, 1.92 million. You know what? Let me actually check the float, because maybe that's a little bit different. Maybe we have other IBG. Maybe we have other float readings, and that would be important to know here. Ticker IBG. No, the float doesn't have anything for this. So we're going to go with the 1.29 million shares in the float. On average, it trades 1.23 million shares. Today, it's traded just shy of 13 million. Take a look at the short interest on this name, 2.75% of the float short. And that comes on 1 day to cover. We'll see what ends up happening here. It looks like we've got some outdated stats from IBG on that banner. But nonetheless, this is what's going on here with this. You can see we lost the VWAP again. So we had this little newsprint that gave us an impulse move. We traded beneath the VWAP. We made one more attempt to go to the high, stopped right there at 5, lost the VWAP in the process here. So far, we have held the 65 EMA in the pre-market. So if it continues to hold the 65 EMA there, maybe we do get another trade. This is where it launched from before. Obviously, it required volume to get that move. So if we're going to move off that position again, we're again going to need to see some volume flow in there. Smoke Tuna, appreciate this. Float on Tuna Signal says it's 705.6. My question would be, where do you get that? Where do you pull that data from? Because you're definitely not tracking it yourself. Where do you pull the data from? Our pull here on 1.9 million comes from Morningstar. So there's no estimation there. That's basically what they had from the last report there. But this is what's going on with IBG. I think we've traded this one before. Yeah. I recognize this. So here's what we're looking at on IBG. Now, the last time that we traded this was back about mid-July. Let me actually go to a 15-minute chart here. That was from September. Let's go check mid-July. Okay, so here's that move from mid-July. We had a big move intraday. We had a little bit of carry through in the after hours. And we had carry through the next day, right? We had the pop in the pre-market, the move back down to consolidation area, and then the grind higher. But it really lost steam after that and never really recovered. So what I would say, and then some of the other pops since then have been extremely short-lived. So just kind of looking at the history here on IBG, I would especially here from September 23rd, I would say if you get any type of gains in this on a trade to the long side, be very, very short with these, right? This is not one that you necessarily want to hold for the next day. That's probably reducing your chance of making a profitable trade. Be careful with this one. Okay. Let's see. I'm selling options on Nike going into earnings. Did I cover all of these that I wanted to? IBG, we took a look at that. Path here, this one I guess is worth noting here. UiPath shares are trading higher if the company announced a partnership with OpenAI to develop a chat GPT to integrate OpenAI frontier models with enterprise customer workflow. You know, we've talked about UiPath being a pretty decent AI play in the past. It does look pretty good off the $10 double bottom. Here, and actually, I guess you could even call this a triple bottom going all the way back to August. That might be a little janky, but nonetheless here, IUPath has been in a pretty clear sideways pattern, and it looks like we're testing the upside area of that. Does look like we have a potential gap fill here. That gap fills up at 18. So here we are sitting at 15. If we break this maybe right here, maybe 16. So between right here and $16, if we break that to the upside, you do have a gap fill up to 18. We'll see. We'll see if that materializes here for a trade. UiPath actually has some pretty good news here today. Quick look at the short interest on this name, 14.53%. Definitely has some juice there, 3.2 days to cover. We're pretty much already at the average volume. Float on this one much thicker than a lot of these other movers that we take a look at 360 million shares. So we'll see. We'll see if UiPath gets rolling. Okay, before I move over to the other one, let me take a look at ABAT here. This was a request from our viewers. ABAT here up 4.65%. Here, we're going to start on the daily chart. Sure looks like a pretty awesome rounding bottom down there, right? Looks like a pretty awesome rounding bottom there. And it does look like we have a potential resistance area up here at 632. That's only $1 higher from where we're at. So we're definitely breaking over the recent high that we've made. We do have another resistance area coming here on ABAT. Now let's take a look. Did we have any news here today? As a matter of fact, we did. American Battery Technology Company and Call to Recycle launch a landmark partnership to expand consumer lithium-ion battery recycling in the U.S. I think this is just great news just in general. It does look like the stock is responding positively to this. How positive will this be, or will this have some carry-through effects? Not really sure. Pivotal moment as it allows us to directly engage with consumers and extend the reach of our innovative recycling technologies. They facilitated the Call to Recycle has already facilitated recycling of over 160 million pounds or 70,000 tons of batteries. So, okay, good news here. I'm not really sure how much lasting impact this is necessarily going to have for the stock, but the chart formation pretty good here. Pretty good. And we'll see if we end up pushing higher here. Let's take a look inside. Okay, so this is actually pretty good too. We had a good day yesterday. We actually tried to sell off and the buyers were having none of it. We went higher in the after hours. We popped here out of the pre-market. When we came back in, the buyers once again had none of it, sent us up to highs here in the process, taking out that initial pre-market high. So ABAT looking good here. No position for me on this. I would actually wait for this to come into a support area before trading it. Don't necessarily chase this here. And then AREC, this is another one. And this is, Lion, I know you're mentioning this one. I'll be honest with you. I missed this one. I missed this one because I had a buddy that I've been following for a long time. He started talking about AREC when it was about $1.25, and here we are at 3, and I didn't have any of it. Now you can see what AREC is doing here. We don't have that lovely rounding bottom that we just saw on ABAT, but we do have a nice move higher here. This took out a recent impulse high that took place on volume. I do see the next area here really kind of being 350 to 360. as our next resistance area. It's another 50 cents from where we're at. I think we could fairly easily get there. You can see we did pop yesterday. We bled a lot of those gains back, but we basically ended up holding right where we consolidated between Friday, September 19th and Monday, September 22nd. So maybe this is an area that this launches from, excuse me. We don't have anything fresh here, but on Monday, yesterday, Re-Element Technologies and POSCO International America signed a long-term commercial offtake partnership to advance U.S. rare earths refining capabilities. This is what Ryan's talking about. I think rare earth is definitely going to be a theme. I like this as a potential play. Like I said, I've been kind of soured on it because this was actually mentioned to me by someone whom I trust for a long time, and I blew it and didn't buy any of it. And so it feels now that it's run too far. We'll see. Should be on play here today. 13 is not sick. He, as we've mentioned a number of times here today, he's having a computer issue that he did not have. Might be from the Microsoft update. We're not sure. See if I got an update from him. Yeah, I figured it was something stupid like that. He's still working on trying to fix it. As of right now, he's still trying to fix it and get back here. I will suggest Windows System Restore. Possible, Cam. I will suggest that since you had suggested that earlier. So, yeah, apologize for that. It is what it is. We will continue to do the best thing that we can. Izzy mentioning Path. We already covered Path here, but is this moving again? There's D-Pro. Actually, let's take a look at some of these here. We've got 5 minutes. I hit all the stocks that we wanted to. Here's D-Pro. It actually looks like this might, I think 850 is still a pretty big spot here. If this pops, maybe we go higher. Your pre-market high is 870 on D-Pro. Path was the one that Izzy mentioned here. This actually looks like a pretty good bull flag, doesn't it, Izzy? Here in the pre-market. I love that it's holding VWAP here at 1519. I think if it continues to hold this and doesn't break down, maybe we do test the top end of that range there at 16. Let me know what you think here about a potential trade on this one. Let me know. 13's a pretty good tech guy himself. That's for sure. So look for drivers, go back to a restore point. I'm sure he's doing all of that. He's been building computers for just about as long as I have, pretty sure. So yeah, Izzy, we already covered the news. I see. You're just reiterating the news. We already covered that here today. Path share is trading higher on the developing a chat GPT with OpenAI. Okay. Really good stuff here. Was there anything else that you folks wanted to take a look at? Jay, you're mentioning CoreWeave here. We talked about that a little bit earlier as well. CoreWeave, that was the Kerrisdale short report, pain for them. Oh, that's right. That was September 15th, right? That's what you were saying here. Here you go. September 15th, Monday, September 15th. Okay. D-Pro has good momentum, but only get a good entry. Do not buy the top. I agree with that. Smoke Tuna, wait for D-Pro to pull back. Don't try to buy that breakout. We are 6 cents away from the VWAP here on D-Pro, so maybe that'll work. We'll see. Shelly, good morning. It's been a long time since we've seen Shelly here. Shelly saying to short gold now. Okay. Round one between Shelly and Lion. Fight. You go ahead. Actually, don't fight. We don't want to clog the chat up here with fighting, but an interesting call. Mark this down, producer. Mark this day. Shelly comes out from hibernation to tell us to short gold at the highs. I'm not even going to poo-poo this, Shelly. I'm not a gold trader, but I'm not going to poo-poo this because if we get some massive pullback here in gold a day after you did this, you're going to become Shelly the Oracle. And we're going to have to incorporate more of that. So in any case, good to see you again. Hope all is well in your corner of the world. Winner gets Buddy. Yeah, no chance. Over my dead body, Shelly. Okay. Good to see you here. You're back amongst friends. Back amongst friends. That's really great to see. Okay. So sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. Fairchild says most of us born last century are tech guys by default. Facts. Fairchild is absolute facts on that. Robinhood won't let you trade POAI during pending corporate action. That was one that we had yesterday, right? That was one that appeared on the scanner yesterday that had a massively disappointing day and then reverse split here today. Yeah, so here was that pop. This lured in buyers, came back down. I think the play might have been for a potential bounce, and that bounce never came. Now it looks like today we did a reverse on this one. Yeah, let's see what that was. Is that in here? I'll actually go. Let me see if I can find what that actually was here. Yep, this did a 1 for 15 reverse that is effective today. It's effective today. Okay, I've been hiding in the depths of finding out what will happen to the tariffs. Okay, so you've emerged from those depths because the world didn't end. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Okay, let's see how much. We're less than a minute. You want to take a look at QMMM? That was a recent huge runner here. QMMM 114.50 here. I don't think there's any news on this. Nope. Suspends trading. Never mind. It suspends trading of QMMM over potential manipulation. I hope none of you are in that. I hope none of you are halted in that, because that is no bueno. No bueno. There's your update. No good. Okay. Let's flip over to the main workspace here. Let's cross our fingers and pray to whatever it is that you pray to, that 13 is able to make it back here today. In the meantime, we will do our absolute best to try and find trades. Smoked Tuna with no co-host here today. Looking at you, boss. It's time to step up. Next man up here. Oh, Angelico says, I am in that. Oh, man. I hope it works out for you, but I got to say, that is not a envious position to be in. Okay. We are open. Ding, ding, ding. Let's see what's going on here. Boy, right off the open. Look at DPRO, guys. Look at DPRO. Huge move higher. This actually came right off the VWAP. We are currently trading right up around $9. That was, it actually peaked above real quick there and came right back in. They ate all of that stock. Okay, no position here on DPRO. I just going back to what Smoked Tuna said earlier, we definitely don't want to chase this one. So I know we just saw a huge power move here. You're way better off waiting till this comes into a support level. Don't endanger yourself early here. Okay. Praise to Buddy. Please bless my gold short. I will do that. I will tell him that you did that. Okay, good stuff there. IBG, here are some of our other movers. We'll run them down. IBG does look like this is curling here. VWAP at 445. It's currently at 420. Maybe you get a move higher there. DPRO did take out 9 and is moving higher here. 918, your high print in the regular session. Good golly, Miss Molly. That thing keeps moving higher here. Stack, this was moving on no news earlier. Doesn't look great there. Looks like we might actually roll over a little bit. SLGY, this is holding its VWAP here so far. We'll see. EPOW, this is another one. Let's see if this can actually make it back to its VWAP. This is coming up off the 65. Oh, excuse me. That's the 200 EMA down there at 134. Ed saying a bottom on TTD. Lion was trying to pump his holding from yesterday to the group. TTD ended up having a really good day yesterday. So here's what I'd be looking at for a trade here today. If we give up the 49 3/4 in the pre-market, we're probably going to see what this is about 49 1/4. Otherwise, your upside level here, you're really looking at 50-50. If we can get above that, TTD maybe runs again. Okay, you guys are calling SPRC here. Great mention. This did pop and was rejected at the VWAP. 666 for all of you there that are superstitious. You probably don't like seeing this, but SPRC popped to the VWAP right there and rejected thus far. DPRO, by the way, pulling back a little bit, lost the $9 handle there. Lion says we're going higher. We're going higher on what, Lion? Use your words. Be specific. Daniel saying another day of low potential junk. I'll be honest, some of these are actually giving a move here. CRA, this was another one that we discussed here. This right at VWAP. So this right at the zone right now. If you think this goes higher and tests 130, 131, now is the entry. We're starting to push away from that. No guarantee that that's going to work, but that does look like a decent setup. TTD. I'm sorry, Lion. I'm sorry. I made a joke and then I didn't even carry the joke to your serious comment. That's my bad there. Lion here thinks this is going higher here. They revamped their ad model yesterday. Jay, what do you think on this? You think this is a swing long here? Looking at the daily chart, we're basically back up to this sideways area that we were in. I see a possible move into the gap above 56, 57. Maybe we have some more work to do. Let me know if you think TTD could possibly pop that here. Good stuff, though. Good stuff there on TTD. All right, let me move through some of the other stocks here. EPOW, that is going to its VWAP. We'll see if we get above that. BENF, that's BENF. This actually is on deck of losing its VWAP. And good Lord, DPRO pulling. Big time knife, perhaps even a broadsword there. Big time knife. This brought us right back down to the VWAP. Smoke tuna, it already looks like some of your advice is playing out here. Do not buy the breakouts. Instead, wait for the pullbacks. Absolutely. You actually are at the VWAP right now. 837 is the VWAP that I have in DPRO. I'm not going to try it here, but if you wanted to try that, there we go. Jay saying TTD, it's a start. Game changer news yesterday. Okay. So Jay, are you swinging TTD? Lion, what, I know that you were doing options. I can't remember. You've talked about it so much and I can't remember. I'm a little bit embarrassed for that. What is your target for TTD? What is your upside target? And if you don't have one, what options are you in? Strike and expiry. I bought gold. Don't trade based on someone else's analysis. Can't really blame you there, Cat Lego. Definitely focus on your own trading, right? If you have your own thesis, your own call, that's definitely going to be more important than what somebody else thinks. No question about that. Okay, let's keep looking through here. SPRC. So it looks like, we might test that VWAP here again. 609 was the entry, I think is what you meant there, Tuna. That makes sense. A couple more tickers here. Duo is on radar. That's ticker DUO, Fangold Network. We've taken a look at this one before. This actually did trade above yesterday's intraday high there, so pretty sweet. Lion here, thank you for answering my direct question. The 55 calls that expire in December. TTD, 55 calls that expire in December. Actually, based on the strike and expiry, that makes a lot of sense, Lion. I like that more than some of the movers that we have here. Smoke Tuna saying, don't hold these junks, take your gains. Could not agree more, especially on some of these junkier names. If you get gains, just take them. Don't be afraid. If you have a long-term position, that's something else. But otherwise, don't be afraid to take your gains. Okay, let me keep running through the list here. Let me actually take a sip of something. It's been a while since I've done this solo. Okay. EPOW, you're saying your VWAP there at 175. Here's your CoreWeave 2X long. I would imagine CoreWeave is trading higher here, but let's look at the actual underlying and see if we can come up with any trade plan from that. CoreWeave 141 on the back of this $14 billion deal with Meta. Remember, it also had a 175 price target here, and we are running up to resistance on CoreWeave here about 148, 150. Yep, tennis is life. CoreWeave to 148. Got through 140. Okay, sweet. So it looks like our next spot higher, about 7 points higher here on CoreWeave. We'll see if we end up getting that here today. This thing ripping out of the gate. I'd wait for a pullback in this name if you're going to take a new long on this. Definitely a squeeze in CoreWeave, says Anne Marie. Boom. Boom. Thank you for the thank you for the encouragement, ex-sniper. And thank you, Jane, for your encouragement. I really love showing up and hanging out with you folks every single day. That's really awesome. Are we preparing for the JOLTs job openings? I am not going to trade based on that print. I guess if I saw a market reaction that I thought I could capture, that'd be a little bit different. But no, I don't have any trade pre-planned for the drop of that data. If anyone else is waiting for that data, let me know. That comes at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we are 23 minutes away from that actual data print. No, I have no trade lined up. If you have an idea for that, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to react to whatever we see as opposed to trying to front run the trade one way or another. SPRC getting mentioned here again. Let me go back to that. Still, until this gets above the VWAP, I think the story's still the same here. Did a pretty good job holding that $6 support area earlier. Now we're moving higher here. This is actually pulling. Day trader bringing up Hood. I got a question for the group here for a potential trade. We talked about this yesterday in happy hour, and I'll be honest, I kind of like this idea, but it's hard. Here's what Robinhood looks like. What a move on Robinhood. This thing was $30 on Liberation Day. $30 on Liberation Day. It's 141 right now. It's been pretty much vertical. Any pullback has been bought. We recently just took out a pretty steep upside trend line. So this was also added to the S&P. We talked about this yesterday at a happy hour, and there was some speculation that because this was added to the S&P, you probably had some fund managers actually window dressing ahead of the end of the quarter here, because today is the last day of the quarter. And so I almost wonder if we get a little bit of a pullback here in early October, maybe not the first or second day, as we're likely to see more inflows into some of those accounts, but maybe we're kind of setting up for a Hood pullback here. Does anyone have a Hood short trade that they are looking for? I'd be curious on that. I have no position on here, but I would not be opposed to trying to use a well-defined options trade, a well-risk-defined options trade to try and capture some downside there. I'd be curious. SPRC getting another mention. Let me go back to it. Okay, we pulled back. This is why you don't buy those breakouts, not in this environment. How are we doing on some of these others? CRE was another one. That's at the high end. Okay, so that did cross VWAP and move higher here. How's DPRO doing? Okay, DPRO might be trying to retake 9 after that big pullback to the VWAP. This once again showing you exactly why Tuna was saying what he was saying earlier. Tuna, I don't mean to take or to put words in your mouth, but I think that I'm describing what you were describing earlier. Wait for the support area. You actually had a second opportunity to trade DPRO here based on that. Hood, move was all about the prediction markets, did $1 billion in bets over the weekend. So, Jay, you have no interest in shorting that then, I guess, based on the prediction market news, which is totally fine. Just wanted to get some differing opinions on that. I do think at some point, Hood will make a pretty decent short. DPRO pulling again here, showing us again why we don't try and buy those breakouts. Barat regarding Hood, maybe at 150, do not short stocks when they are making all-time highs. And this is exactly where I was trying to go, right? This is why I don't have a position on right now. Do not jump in front of a moving train, please. Especially one that is moving like Hood to the upside. That is one way to get carried out on a stretcher. Barat looking for 150. Barat, what I would come back with there, are there any indicators or is there any specific price action that you would be looking at to confirm a potential downside move in Hood? It's too stonk. Can't short it. I feel you on that. I have to tell you, I have not done anything with Hood since they had all of their information stolen because I was in that bunch of information and I had to change everything. Tara, I don't blame you. Really bad experiences will sour you on a stock trade. Happens to me all of the time. Do not blame you one little bit there. Stack is halted. Thank you guys for that. Here is Stack. This is halted to the upside. We're only 5 cents away from the VWAP. VWAP I've got at 113. Its Stack is open now, going right to that VWAP as we speak. We'll see if we break above that. This was a good mention here, Tuna. Sorry, I was a little late to that. Yeah. If you challenge a train, the train always wins, says Zach. Indeed. Let's not be fighting any trains, okay? We don't need to do that. Excuse me. Sorry about that, folks. All right. One other thing that we saw here, PayPal yesterday. PayPal made a gigantic move yesterday. And look what's happening to it now. So we made a huge move. There was no news yesterday, right? Wasn't something I missed on this, was there? Yeah, PayPal. Really no news here. PayPal opens off highs after OpenAI announces an instant checkout in ChatGPT. Okay. Anyway, this just kind of ramped yesterday, came back in, and what's going on now? Came back in, bounced a little bit. We're basically right at that spot it bounced from. So 68 and a half. Kind of wondering if maybe I was just a little too early on PayPal and there's a potential swing long here. I do like this company. I use the product. That's probably why I like it. Wolf is moving. PayPal, a good company with lots of fin infrastructure and fundamentals. I agree, Perry. It's one of the, and again, I actually use the product here, so I see the benefit here in PayPal. Stock's actually been pretty good as well. So I'd be curious. Let me know if anyone likes PayPal here. Taking a look at the market, NASDAQ a little bit lower. This is actually down 0.33%. Dow basically flat, and S&P down 0.14%. So still red across the board here. See if PayPal finds the bottom there. DPro lost its VWAP. It's actually trying to bounce from its VWAP again. See if we end up getting that. Let's take a look at UMAC, which was another one of our drone plays. Etsy spiked on the same news as PayPal. Which one do you like more, Tess? Do you like Etsy or PayPal more for a long term, for a longer term swing? Morning, Jay Wild. Great to see it. Great to have the whole band back together here, except for 13. I'm sorry. I know computer issues like that, they drive me absolutely crazy. He actually didn't seem all that stressed. So that's good. Okay, let me actually check the schedule here again, just make sure I don't lose things. Okay, we do have an all access a little bit later. Then we also have Anne-Marie and Paul Meeks here today. So there we go. Ryan, Anne-Marie Band, good long-term PayPal calendar spread. Perry, let's put that on the list. Let's ask Anne-Marie about PayPal here today. Maybe she can help us come up with a different type of trade for that. That'd be awesome. Good idea. Good idea. UMAC here, this did push a little bit higher, holding higher, but actually right at the resistance area from yesterday. Let's check in on some more of those movers there. Let me know if you folks see anything. Going next here. Stacked still can't get above its VWAP. IBG is also still below its VWAP. Boy, we're still seeing some of that weakness. MSS, look at this. This is right at its VWAP. Don't trust any of this. Jay here, I know we've done this a few times. I've been guilty of this. Jay saying, do not compare bull to hood. I would agree with that. Hood seems to be doing a lot more than Webull here. I understand the appeal of Webull, but Jay's absolutely right. These are not comparable at this time. SPRC getting another mention here. That's probably been one of our better movers. Let's see what we're looking at. SPRC, okay, we are at the VWAP. Are we able to actually break it this time? Are we able to break above here on SPRC? I'm going to load this up in my broker, but being solo here, unsure I'm going to trade this myself. Joe wants to take a look at Micron. Let's actually do that. While SPRC is battling at the VWAP here, let's do that really quickly. I think if SPRC ends up pushing away from the VWAP instead of pulling back down beneath it, I got to think 7 and then maybe even 767. I wanted to say 750, but we did have another like kind of a peak above that level. 655 is your VWAP here in SPRC. We are holding above it. That would be something to watch on there. Daniel saying all of these stocks look bad. I'll be honest with you. I don't see a whole lot of great stuff here either. I'm not thrilled with any new day trades. I would really have to see a good setup here, and I feel like I'm already doing more than I normally am. So, all right, let's check out Micron here real quick for Joe. Joe, by the way, good morning. I don't think I said good morning to you yet. We will absolutely take a look at Micron. Oops, that was the wrong ticker. Here we go. So Micron straight up. This is actually above yesterday's intraday high now on Micron. this continues here. I think what we got a next spot here. What is this high? It's high. Your next spot, 170.5. 170.50, your next resistance level on Micron. I think we probably challenge that here. Ben F, this is breaking down from its VWAP. EPOW can't get back to its VWAP. We'll see if that changes. Kathy, I know that you were talking about AIIO earlier. This pulled back. Let me know if you think there's a buy here on that. Zach here saying Ondas is battling to find support at this very important Mark Petrino type area. I love the weave that you just did there, Zach. That's masterful. Let's take a look here. So here's the spot. Okay, very, very clearly, this was a resistance area that is now a support area. Zach, I think you're exactly right. See what I did there? Looking at the daily chart here, what do you guys see on this daily chart? I see a series of higher lows and a stair step. This thing basically used the 9 EMA as support. So to me, we still have this well-defined trend intact here. And even if we pull back a little bit to this 9 EMA, that value, by the way, is at 741. Even if we pull back to 741, to me, this still has a long or an intact short-term trend to the highs. I would still think Ondas goes higher here, even if it trades down a little bit here today. Hold that 740, 739. That would be great on Ondas. Okay, SPRC, you folks are saying that is going. I see it busting through the VWAP here. Here we go. So it took 3 attempts to get through the VWAP there. That's good stuff. We'll see if we can end up getting up to that 750. Remember, I had 7 and then 767 as the next area. Maybe honorable mention there to some resistance at 750. Ryan, congrats on Ondas. Thank you. We've booked a lot in that, so I will take the congrats. We still have a bunch that we're going to trim on the way up, and I'm still planning on holding 1,000 shares forever. We'll call them the forever shares. So doing pretty good there. Pretty happy about that. And I'm also glad to see a lot of the chat members ended up doing really, really well with that. Marcus saying, holy crap, Amazon is getting waxed. Excuse me. Here's a look at Amazon, down just about 1%, but it looks like it's straight down. Yep, straight down from the open. Izzy, where are you at? Where's the buy spot here on Amazon? Where is the buy spot for a potential bounce here on Amazon? Let's see if we can look at the chart and find it. Definitely at one area down here. 216 would be another area, maybe 218. Okay, good stuff there on Amazon. Boy, looking around here, a lot of stuff pulling back. Apple ended up going higher, by the way. Amazon is pulling back, as you guys mentioned. Netflix pulling back, maybe some delayed effects there on the tariffs on non-US made movies. Tesla, interestingly enough, this is actually in the red. This tried to go green. Tesla tried to trade green earlier, rolling over down by just about 1% here. We'll see if Tesla continues to trade back in. I almost think 430 would be a really good spot for this to come into. And then CoreWeave, that was the other one that we were taking a look at. Brian here saying that the shorts are strong in CoreWeave. Were you doing your best Star Wars impression there? Let me know. 140, 142 look to be the top there so far on CoreWeave. Billy here saying you like CoreWeave on a pullback to the VWAP. I've got VWAP at 137. We're currently at 138 on CoreWeave. So that actually makes a lot of sense here. We'll see if we end up getting a trade there. Smoke Tuna saying that SPRC wants 7, but it will be tough to get there. It actually, did we print that? No, not quite. My high print there, 696. Tuna looks to be spot on with that. Maybe it goes to 7. Right now, pulling back, though. We'll see if it holds the VWAP on a pullback. Lion, you talk about AEM every single day. I'm probably just going to skip it here today. Have you talked about defense stocks recently? Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. We talked about the Wall Street Journal article saying that people should, or defense companies should prepare, create more missiles for a potential conflict with China. We did take a look at that yesterday, very, very briefly. I didn't take any trades based on that. I guess we can check here today and see what's going on with some of those names. Here, you can see in the pre-market, we had a really nice price there on RTX. This came in and held the intraday low from the day prior at 163. We're trading up off that area, maybe 168 as a potential target here on RTX. Johnny's saying, what site is that? The screen that I'm sharing here is Benzinga Pro. You can find all of those links in the description or simply scan the QR code that you see on your screen. It is a real-time newswire complete with things like chat rooms, audio squawks, scanners, calendars, data, pretty much anything that you need to stay on top of market happenings, and Scan is available to you in Pro. This is what we use every day as our idea generation tool. SPRCs, this is good news that it's actually holding above the VWAP. If we look at the 5-minute chart, you can see that it's actually trying its best to hold this and build above. If it is successful in doing this, this puts more highs on deck, possibly. It's not a guarantee that it's going to do that, but that's absolutely something that we can take a look at. You got it, Johnny. No problem. Can you please check the news on Roblox? Yes, I can. Sorry if I'm missing some things here. A lot going on. When you're flying solo. Rocket pulled back a little bit. That's still holding on to 19.5. PayPal still holding here about 68.50. I want to see what level that carves out for us. Oh, Roblox. This is TLC, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls right here. This thing pouring to the downside, down 5%. Got to be news on this. Shares of video game stocks are trading higher in sympathy. That was from yesterday. I see no news here on Roblox, folks. See if I see anything. I don't see anything on here yet about this. Let me know. Let me know if you folks see anything here on Roblox. I did see the news here on Pfizer. Of course, this is a stock that I will never own and trade. I absolutely hate this demon company, but nonetheless, Pfizer here moving on this news. Pfizer to sell drugs through Medicaid at lower prices. That is a WAPO source there. I'm seeing this being repeated all over the place. So yeah, this popping Pfizer here, 24.5 right now on this. 25 is going to be your 200 EMA on the daily chart. We do have a double top there at 26. Well, there's a good mention there on that piece of news. I did see that when I was looking for Roblox news. Still don't see anything on Roblox. But gosh, that chart was nasty, though. Yep, I got it, Mom Bear. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Same deal with cigarette companies. POAI, this is one from yesterday that was just a massive disappointment. On watch here for WIS. I think the same thing that we're going to be looking for, or that we were kind of waiting for yesterday. Maybe it does trade better after the reverse now, but I think you're really going to need to see some volume throw in here. I think you're going to need to see some volume flow in here for this to really move. We'll see if we end up getting that. Wow, WDC. We talked about this one last week as a potential regression back to the mean. No chill yet. In fact, I'm seeing call flow here. This is the 121 calls that expire this week. So that is absolutely a short-term trade. This thing continues to trade higher here. Where's the top? Shelly, you do charting. Where's the top? Shelly, I got a project for you. WDC, STX, SNDK, and Micron. All of the charts look similar. They're all storage related. Let me know where the top is. Where are we looking for shorts on those? WDC, STX, SNDK, and MU. Let me know what you think on any of those. Or anyone, really, but we'll put Shelly on the spot here since she came out of hibernation today. How's Wolf doing? Wolf actually curling here. So this Dare I say it, but this actually was a tradable move. This thing basically just traded along with the VWAP and is now starting to push away. I'd watch for volume to expand here. I think if the volume continues to come in, you're probably going to be limited by this pre-market high. I almost think the top might be $33 there. You can't measure the top on a high velocity trade. Shelly, nice punt. That went about 40 yards and very little return. I understand where you're coming from, Lion, but I completely and wholeheartedly disagree with you. Defense stocks do a lot of real good things for our country. They are not the same as cigarette companies, at least not in my book. Respect the differing opinion there. Scaled out of Wolf starting at 31.75, holding 15% shares. So I think, Kathy, the big thing here, the way that you traded that, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. We know we've talked about all of the risk here. The chart actually had a pretty good setup, lots of buying volume in there. So you're really kind of tailing something here that's working, and very little percentage left on for a potential move higher. Kathy, well done. You earned that register ring. IBG getting a mention here from Chester. Let's see what IBG is doing. This is one of our movers from earlier. Great mention there. We punched above the VWAP. Now, can this build above the VWAP? Remember, this is what we saw earlier in SPRC, although even with the build, I think we still pulled beneath it. Yep. In fact, we're doing it right now. Let's see now if the 9 EMA holds SPRC. We had a little bit of build above the VWAP, found resistance right there at 7, could not go higher. Lower we go, testing the lower end of the range. See what else we got here. CoreWeave long leverage. So CoreWeave pulled back here, but this 2x long ETF, this actually doing a pretty good job bouncing. I think the easy money was probably made in CoreWeave. And I think I like Bharat's idea of waiting for 150 here, maybe that round number. This to me doesn't look like this is ready to break down here today. I think I still like SPRC. You know what, Tuna? The pulls that we've seen so far in SPRC, they've been bought. They've been bought. So there's definitely still buying appetite. We really haven't seen that one big broadsword, if you will. Let me ask you, what area do you like to load this at? Or are you still working off of the $6 load area that we talked about earlier? Let me know. CoreWeave above the 50-day moving average and VWAP. It's going to rip again. Bharat is on top of it. Looks like we have got more there possible for CoreWeave. And actually, SPRC, as we're talking here, this is curling up. Looks like 660 is your VWAP. Maybe we punched through that. SPRC. ABAT, this is the one that we looked at earlier. Ray, were you the one that asked about this too? I'm sorry. I know I wrote it down. We looked at it. I couldn't remember who brought it up, though. ABAT looks like maybe we did hold that 480 spot. I want to see this get above the VWAP before I'd be interested in trading this. I don't know. SPRC 646 looks like a long spot there for Tuna. Okay. Okay. See, Wolf. Kathy, I think you did a really good job with that one. Let's take a look at D-Pro. This was another one from earlier. D-Pro doing its best to hold on to 8. I think if you lose 8 here, 775 is your last support, and I wouldn't want any part of it beneath that. I wouldn't want any part of it beneath that. NUVB getting mentioned by Alish here. Look at this ramp. Did this have news? God. Nutrition Bio, what happened here? Jeffries initiates coverage on Nutrition Bio with a buy rating and a price target of 10. This is a good mention here. At price target, more than a 2x. Nuvation Bio enrolls its first patient in the Trust 4 phase 3 study of one of its drugs for the adjuvant treatment of ROS1 positive early stage non-small cell lung cancer. Now that is what I like. I actually lost my father to non-small cell lung cancer. Love hearing stuff like this. Looks like positive data on that, and plus 20%. Jeffries likes this with a target there of 10. Let's see what other analysts are saying about this, if it's got any other coverage. Yeah, so 10 from Jeffries, 10 from H.C. Wainwright. Looks like we've got 6 from Wedbush, 7 from RBC Capital. Tell you what, this NUVB price targets above where we're at by almost 2x in a lot of cases. So this is a pretty healthy move here. I would not chase this move, but that news is pretty good. Maybe if this pulls back to VWAP for a new trade, Ailish, this was a good mention. Yeah, Jeffries upgrade. Yeah, this was a good one. This was a good one. It's okay. Thank you, Samel. Look, we deal in a job here where we get unpredictability every day. And that unpredictability is going to teach us lessons that we're going to carry through to other things here. And tech issues are part of that. So we'll end up dealing with them however they come. I'm sure 13 is going to be fine, and I'm sure he's going to get back here. Tennis is life. It does not matter who mentioned it first. I just happened to see Ailish's comment there. Relax, man. Take a deep breath. You're doing fine. Big Bear Hug mentioning that Nike earnings are tonight. We actually have a couple of people from our happy hour that are long Nike for these earnings. One of them is more of a longer term investment. But that is coming here tonight. I don't have any expectations for Nike. I'm not in that one myself. Zura getting a mention here. Thank you, Tuna, on the Zura mention. Boom. Let's see if we trade up towards 4 here on Zura. The high from the pre-market was 411. So Zura, this actually looks pretty good. Did we have news on this or anything, any like continuation or anything? Let's see. Yes, Chardon with a $10 price target here today. And this is, you know what? This is actually a really good mention here. This is also presenting in that Cantor conference. Did this happen yet? Yeah. Oh gosh, this was a while ago. That was September 4th. Okay, we might actually traded it that day now that I'm looking at that. But yeah, $10 price target there on Zura. Okay, sweet. Let's see what else we have going here. Shelly, are you already out of your short? So much for shorting that train. We just talked about that, and you ended up doing that anyway. Path here, maybe Path is bouncing. 1450 here. I've got VWAP at 1477. See if Path gets any type of volume expansion or increase here. Maybe we'll end up trading back towards those highs. This actually doesn't look bad if it doesn't break down anymore. D-Pro finally knifing. Okay, this sets up 774 as a potential support. If we lose that, I wouldn't want to be in that at all. See what else do we have here on the scanner. And then also on the unusual options here. Boy, I'm seeing a lot of flow for NVIDIA, mostly on the call side. But to be quite honest with you, I'm seeing both here. NVIDIA above yesterday's intraday high. Who's got a target here for NVIDIA? Boy, look at this top. 1, 2, 3. This looks like a quadruple near-term top, maybe even a quintuple. Anyone have a target on NVIDIA? Does anyone think we break higher than this and set a new high on this one? Let me know. Let's see what the calls are at. 185. Yeah, these actually look like at the money calls for a possible break above. And it looks like they're this week's calls. So these look like short-term trades, at least on a lot of these. 185, got a ton of the 185s. Okay, a lot of trading going on in the options market there in NVIDIA. Maybe we do break above this 185 high here. SPRC still looks good, 240. Quantum has a 240 target there in NVIDIA. Whew. That would be something else. That would be something else. Yeah, that JOLTs data, we did get that. Let me see here. Did the market respond to that? I don't think so. Okay, U.S. JOLTs job openings for August, 7.2 million versus 7.19 million. And the revision there was 7.2 from 7.18. Okay, so that looks pretty in line. That doesn't look like a crazy print there at all. CB consumer confidence for September, 94.2 versus the 96 estimate. A little soft on that. I don't know that that's causing the market to sell off here, though. NVIDIA looks like it tried to peak up towards that 185. Here's EPOW. Maybe we go through that VWAP 156. Where's Izzy? Did we ever get an answer on the bottom for Amazon? Let me know. 218.50 now. That move down there. Is the pot run over? Well, first of all, you cited Tilray there in your question. Tilray is the last pot stock that I would try on any of the pots or any of the pot names. Here's CGC. We had that move yesterday on the video that Trump shared about the CBD being used for medical purposes. I don't think that this is done long term, but in the short term here, in lieu of any other catalyst, I don't really know what's going to end up moving that. Again, the two big catalysts that we've got on our radar, federal legalization and then these companies being able to bank quite easily. That's really going to make the stocks more appealing. As far as Tilray goes, that one is just kind of a junkier name. That one I steer clear of. I do actually have a small position here in CGC. Izzy, Amazon has a conference today at 10 a.m. You had mentioned that earlier, and I totally blew it. What is the conference about, Izzy? And I'm almost wondering, so what? It's 10 a.m. now, right? That's Eastern time? So that conference is on right now. Fertitta Entertainment selects Amazon Business for key business purchasing needs. That actually sounds good. Buy with Prime expands with new brands Deer Foams and Bagalini. Okay. Let me see if that was on the morning update, Izzy. For conferences. Nope. What conference is that? That it has here today. Curious on that. And I'm Izzy, I gotta think if we bounce at some point here today, this actually makes a pretty good trade setup. If we do get a bounce, wow, Goldman Sachs really getting hit here too. Market is pulling a little bit, but nothing crazy. Still within range here. Izzy, what's the conference about there? Let me run through some of these here. I sent it to you on X. Oh gosh, I don't see anything new here today. Maybe this was a while ago. I got a ton of mentions in here. All right, sorry, Izzy, can't find it. Oh, here we go. Maybe it just updated. Amazon will be hosting its 2025 fall hardware event today. Amazon is expected to show off the latest in Alexa Plus, Echo, and Kindle. CEO Andy Jassy in February teased AI upgrades. Now that's interesting, Izzy. I wonder if we could stream that conference somewhere. Producer, are you there? Can you hear me? Would you be able to find a link to that? That would be interesting because Izzy, I like this. I think that you might see a potential pop here on this. If they release some crazy AI feature that maybe people weren't necessarily ready for. I like that idea. Keep Amazon on watch. Izzy, that's good stuff. Thank you for doing that, by the way. Let me actually favorite that so I can find it a little bit easier later. Thank you, Izzy. Amazon's big hardware event, all the latest news on Echo, Kindle, and Fire TV and more. Yeah, I want to know if there's an AI angle there that we can trade. Good idea. Good idea. Okay. Let me get back to some of the movers here real quick. Sorry, I left that crappy penny stock on the screen there. That was not intentional. Here's Zura, by the way. We are above the pre-market high from yesterday. Pretty Panda says, I'm going to strongly disagree with you, Ryan, on Tilray. That's totally fine. Blatant comment based on history and not the actual state of the company. I still like you, but I think you're wrong. Well, I'm glad that's the case. I've been wrong plenty of times before, and that will continue, I'm sure. For me, my experience with Tilray has just been extremely poor. I have a better experience with some of the other pot stocks there. But if you got a positive thesis on that, let us know. Let us know what that is. Amazon does not typically live stream its events. Okay, well, there we go. There we go. Samel, you were asking for an exit level here on Zura. This is a trim zone. You just basically busted above the previous resistance area that we identified there. So I would trim into this move. Shady, good luck with your doctor's appointment. 13 has computer issues here today that he is still working on resolving. Let's see if I got an update from him. Yeah, wow, he's dealing with a really crappy issue right now. I don't think we're gonna. We got 45 minutes left here. Actually, we have a little bit less than that. We have about 30 minutes left here because of the all access. I am guessing we do not see 13 here today. I will try and follow up with him though and see if we can help him out. I'm sure we'll have Aaron from the tech department see if we can help him out as well. Yeah, we took a look at that Pfizer news. Yes, tennis is life. Computer issues. I've mentioned it several times here today. He's still dealing with it, unfortunately. What make is 13's computer puts? Oh, producer. You never failed to disappoint. Here's a look at path. We did come into the 9 EMA. I was thinking earlier if we held the VWAP, you might have a move here on path. Now that we've kind of held this area, maybe a VWAP cross. Current price 1438, VWAP there at 14.75. So maybe if we get above that, that sends it back to the 1550 area on path. Really need this to hold though. Really need that to hold. Yeah, Jeremy here. I love this, Jeremy. This is kind of what I've been doing here. The strategy with pot stocks is to buy cheap and hold till someone in the government releases news. That's my experience. I would completely agree with that. If you can find a support level that when pot seems to be out of favor, holding some and being patient and then selling into the impulse move, that has worked. I know I've told the story a bunch of times. My first account ever, my first own trading account ever, I started with $500 and I was convinced I was going to be able to trade OTC pot stocks for the win. It didn't go well. That account got blown up. So everyone learns their lesson some way. I would agree with this. I definitely don't chase these moves. And again, the two big catalysts here, I don't know that we necessarily have anything on them in terms of a timeline. SPRC, by the way, continuing to kind of leak a little bit here. Smoke Tuna, just remind me if this holds 6, this could be pretty good. Currently at 605 right now. Trump is live. Thank you. I don't see anything on that, but if any news comes out of that, I'm sure we will cover it. Appreciate that mention. Oklo was downgraded. What? That thing's been on a huge run here. Downgraded by Bank of America. Actually, Oklo down by 4% here today. How about that? This actually popped in the pre-market, gave everything back. As far as Oklo here, may want to watch this 111. My first big loss back in 2018, it was on Tilray. Barat, was that the day where Tilray traded up to 300? I remember that day. I remember FinTwit, I remember a lot of shock and awe on the feeds there. There were several people that ended up losing their account that day. Nothing major from Trump yet? Okay, got it. I've always had bad luck with OTC, honest car reviews. Me too. This is actually one of the reasons why we don't really cover OTC stocks on this show. Fraught with manipulation, all types of problems. Yeah, there's some good companies there, and yeah, you can find some gems, so it's not a completely lost cause, but for the most part, I just try and stay away from those. If it doesn't work, I stay away from it. All right, let me run through some of these. I got to stop clicking on Ben F. That's not going to be a good one. EPOW, this really isn't moving. Did Zura slow down at all yet? Nope, this just kept rolling. Zura here, 450 looks to be that spot. Let's look to the left and see if we can find any other spot on the daily or weekly chart here. Okay, $5. I'm just going to kind of round up. I would say $5 probably your next spot here on Zura. Really, really nice move here. ZURA today. Pretty nice push there. How's AAIO doing? Did that give us anything here? AAIO. So this did actually bounce a little bit. We actually have the makings of a trend line setting up here. So that would be our target that we'd want to get over there. Brandon, I just look, it keeps moving around on the scanner, so I figure something's going on there, and I'm like, that's kind of a really crummy name there. News on Amazon, Izzy, did we put in our bottom? Oh my god, 218 looks to be the tradable bottom. What was the news here though? And this is coming from the conference, I'm guessing. Amazon buy with Prime now available for products for Deer Foams and Bagolini. We talked about that a little bit. We talked about Tillman Fertitta selecting the Amazon business as a business partner. So we covered the news that we saw here today so far. Nothing new here on that yet. Ring Retinal Vision. Like the Ring doorbell. I don't have that news in the news feed yet. That must be from the conference, Izzy. I can take a look at that when we actually get that news. Sorry about my nose here. I can actually blow that here in a sec if you want. Rain Reyes. Let's take a look at CNC here. We actually had a couple of chat members make some pretty killer trades on CNC. Pete, I don't think Pete shows up anymore, but Pete, I know he had a real good one here. I think you entered in a 20 handle. Here's what the chart looks like on CNC. I do actually think there's some more room to go here, right? Looks like we're actually trying to break this high. This was our first curl attempt to enter the gap. We didn't quite get there. So I'd watch this again here. High is 36.14. Let's just call it 36 to be even. I think if this breaks 36, maybe that sets up the high. The gap starts here at 37 and change, and that gap fills up at 54. So looking like a potential move to fill this gap here on CNC. The other thing that I see here, series of higher lows on this daily chart. Series of higher lows on this. This actually looks pretty good, Rain, for some more upside here. And give me one sec, folks. Let me actually blow my nose. All right, sorry about that. I should be able to have less unpleasant noise. Yeah, so CNC, I think this kind of looks good. I don't think there's anything necessarily going on today. I do like the daily chart. Those levels there, the recent high that we saw might trigger a move into that gap. That gap fills at 54. That'd be a pretty good long side trade here. I do think this stock has bottomed for whatever that's worth for your trade. Lion says, I bought CNC around 26. See, I knew that there were multiple members in here. Thank you on that. CNC large UOA for November, December, and January. Now that is helpful. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Izzy, I thank you for the tweet. Let me get to that here in a sec. CNC here. You had said, what were those months? Good morning, Amanda. It's great to see you again. Hope all is well. How was that concert? And how did the Shy treat you while you were here? November, December, and January. Okay, so there's December. CNC, large UOA for November, December, and January. I don't see them. November? There is open interest. Nothing here today. The biggest one I see there, the $40 call for January. Man, there is almost 11,000 contracts being held in that open interest. That would absolutely apply. It looks like there was also some 50. There was pretty good open interest in the 50. I almost wonder if they did a spread, a 40-50 calendar spread. They're a vertical spread. Excuse me. What do you think? What do you think on that, Greg? You think they're looking for 40 and 50 on that? Would make sense on the trade. That's a good mention, though. Good mention there. In fact, let me actually ask let me mention that to Anne Marie, because maybe we can set up another trade on that. I appreciate that. That's a really good mention there. It was amazing. Loved the Shy. A little peoply, though. Oh, Amanda, I can relate. By the way, I'm going to steal that and reuse that. A little peoply. I like that. I like that indeed. Okay, Izzy, let's check out this Amazon thing that you sent me here. Sorry, it took me a sec. I'll tell you what, though. That bounce off 218. We were talking about it leading up to it, too. Oh, Izzy, I hope you made money off that. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, so this wasn't really a link. Amazon. Oh, this was First Squawk. Okay, this is good, though. You know what I'm going to do? If First Squawk is going to have these updates from this conference, here, I'll share this with the group. For those of you that think X is not good and not usable for trading, first of all, politely, you're wrong. But second of all, I have some things to give you. This First Squawk channel that Izzy, this is what he was tweeting me. It was a retweet of this. This First Squawk channel is an awesome Twitter follow. You can very, very often get news that happens right as it happens, right from First Squawk here. Amazon announces Ring retinal vision imaging tech. So, I'm sorry about my nose. Okay, so it did cause Amazon to bounce here. I'd like to hear some more on this, like retinal vision. Do you just get a higher resolution of your Ring camera? I can imagine that would be helpful. I wonder what this entails. Clearly, though, that started our bounce there on Amazon at 218. Clearly. Pfizer's reducing prices on drugs. That we already covered that. On it. Okay, awesome. Amanda also has a trade on CNC. 35.50 strangle in CNC. Okay. Amanda, it sounds like you're having a heck of a morning here today. Good morning for Amanda. Let's get a Chewbacca roar for Amanda. How about that? Please send us the link for that X handle. You know what? That's what I should have done that. Here it is. Let me throw it in the chat so you should easily be able to copy and paste it. At First Squawk. Good stuff there. There will be more news on Amazon, I bet. I think Izzy is 100% correct. You can follow that First Squawk account. They will probably continue to post headlines just like that as they break from that conference. And thank you, producer, for looking that up. Apparently, Amazon doesn't often run those or doesn't stream those conferences live. Okay. Well, that would explain why we didn't see it here today. Producer got us. I know we had a tech issue here with 13. I'm really sorry about that. I know he's sorry too. I can tell you we have a family show here, so I won't repeat some of the things that he's texting me, but he is unhappy. He did try the system restore. His firmware was updated. and he's trying drivers right now. So it looks like he's trying everything that the chat suggested here. Do me a favor, though. Smash up the like for our chat, for our producer, and for all of you that were helping me out here today fly this ship solo. You guys, I can't even believe the show is like I can't believe it's 10:30 Eastern. Like this just flew by here again. No trades for me here today, unfortunately, just because I was so tied up with that. But smash up the like for our community here. Really kind of, carrying the load here when we had an unexpected tech issue. Sam saying, what happened with Open? Let's take a look at that. That had a huge run. That was likely a short squeeze fueled run. Sorry, I got distracted there by Julia Borston's Blazers, which looks spectacular. Open here. All right, so this is really kind of coming in off of the recent move higher that it made. I don't think we had any news here today. It is up by 1.53%. Let's see if we had any news here today. Nope. No news here today. Let's see if we got an update on the short interest. We did. So we did get that update. Look at that. That short interest came in a little bit. This actually came in by a little over 3%. I am not surprised to see that based on the move that we've seen with Open. Those shorts got carried out on stretchers, and I don't think people are loading into that, especially with the rate cutting cycle looking like that's going to continue here. So that's basically it on Open. If you want to see a longer term chart, let me flip it to the daily here. You can see we basically just came in off these highs. Let me ask you chartists out there that or anyone that really kind of liked trading Open here before. Now that we've pulled back and kind of held this area, you think we maybe make a move back towards 10 on Open? I don't think the firmware update was forced. He said his firmware was already updated. It was the Windows update that sounds like it was forced. Lion. I sent him that, Lion. I don't think he's logged back on, but when he does, it'll be a nice surprise. Knights Land says, we got your back. I know. We got the best community here in the world. Let me try my nose again. One sec. Okay. Killer short on Affirm. I actually just paid my Affirm bill this morning here for my Samsung phone, which was financed through Affirm. Affirm down 6%. Bharat, did we have news on this? First of all, congrats on your short. Ring the bell here. Do you think that this has more room down? It looked like 60 there on the chart with some more room down here on Affirm. Boy, oh boy, this thing getting crunched today, down 6.3%. Brian here says, not fun being the designated bug executioner. Couple of things to make that a little bit better. They make two devices for this. They make a gun called the Bug Assault, which basically shoots rock salt at bugs and takes them out that way. That can be very fun. Never tried it myself. They also have these little tennis rackets that have batteries in the bottom, and the strings are electrified. So you basically swing at the bug and it zaps them. That is fun. That I've tried. Anyway, there was no news here on Affirm. Bharat, you think this was just trading action? Do you think you have any more downside targets here? Let me know. Joe saying that's a pretty weak pop for Amazon on that first squawk news. Indeed, it was really only not even 2 points, about 1.5 points. But remember, Izzy told us that conference is going on. Producer looked into it, said there's no live stream. I'm expecting more tweets from First Squawk on that conference. Bug killing is the cat's job. Amanda. Oh, I'm so glad somebody else can relate to that. Buddy is phenomenal at killing bugs. When I accidentally let a fly in, Buddy can be sleeping, and if he hears that fly buzzing, he has a new mission, and he is going to earn his rent. He tracks all of the bugs down that get into my place, and it is phenomenal. Good to see. What are your cats' names, by the way? Affirm is keep downing from the past week. Smell is asking if Pays has low volume. Let's check. We haven't looked at Pays yet here today. I'd be happy to check that for you. I've got no trades on here at the moment. Here's Pays. Is this low volume? Actually, it looks like it's higher volume than the last couple of days. Let's take a look at the stats. So, on average, stock trades 878,000 shares. Today, it's traded 369,000. I bet we get to that average here today on Pays. I would say this is normal volume. Smell? I would say that this is, so far, it's normal volume. Bharat, thank you. 62.89 you're looking for on a firm. Okay, so there's more downside there. You're looking at like 9 more points of downside. Okay. An SEC filing on a firm. Bharat. Oh, dude. Bharat doing work. Smash up the like for our guy Bharat here. An SEC filing on a firm revealed that a co-founder or insider plans to sell a significant block of shares, which can spook investors and lead to downward pressure. Okay, totally get it. I almost wonder if people are tightening up any of their buys using buy now, pay later services. This is pretty good insight, though. 62, Bharat's target for a firm there. I have two, Salem, Millicent, which is a temporary name and a very, very long story. I want to hear the story, though. Flick, Christmas Story Bully, okay. And Marvin, he likes to leave the water running like the Wet Bandits. Oh, my God, that is funny, Amanda. Boy, your cats sound like they've got personality. You're welcome, Smell. D-Pro, Smoke Tuna measuring D-Pro. Are we finally getting a bounce there, Tuna? Let me bring that up. Sorry, I was a little late on that. You know, I can probably keep D-Pro on another chart here so I can keep one eye on it for us. Izzy, RR fraud report. I will check into that next year. Here's your D-Pro. Smoke Tuna, dude. We just had to be patient, right, Tuna? Look at this, popped above the VWAP. Can it build above the VWAP here? I've got 835 as the VWAP in my broker, 830 as the VWAP here in Pro. We are building above it so far. This, I'll tell you what, this looks like this is going to try and go higher here. I like to see this initial volume candle being a little bit higher. Watch 850 here on D-Pro. Okay, it looks like it might be pulling back to the VWAP here. It'll be interesting to see if this holds. Tuna, what are your thoughts here on a move higher here? 850 and then maybe 9? Your 5-year-old son thought the name Temporary sounded really pretty. That's a good mom for letting that continue. That is awesome. You don't own a cat, it owns you. Those are true facts, buddy. True facts. G-Man saying D-Pro resistance 857. Kevin says, I bought 30 shares of Duolingo yesterday, D-U-O-L, down bigly today. Story of my life. Yo, I can say this, Kevin. I don't know what's going to happen with Duolingo, but I can say this. A lot of the swing trades that I take, especially on bigger names like that, and I'll pull up Duolingo here for a sec. A lot of the trades that I take like that, I've just become accustomed to them going against me initially. Now, I would say here, my immediate response would be, well, what's the plan, right? Do you have a stop plan here or a risk plan here? To me, it looks like we had a pretty nice move, a recent move off this double bottom at 265. We broke this area, which was resistance, and basically we've pulled back to that area. I'll be honest with you. I think if this holds here, let's call it 318. If it holds this 318, your trend, your short-term trend that we are currently in is still intact. My 7-year-old named our white cat Rainbow. Rainbow's not a bad name anyway. You could also call it Bo, Bowie, Rain, Rainy. There's a lot of nicknames that can come off that. What's happening with Zura, says Jake. Let's take a look. Zura actually had news earlier, if I'm not mistaken. That was the trial, right? The drug trial. Let me just get it for you here instead of trying to remember all of the stuff off the top of my head. No, this was just, excuse me, this was just the $10 price target on Zura. We actually looked on this though, right? They had a health conference back at the beginning of September. I think we also took a look here at what some of the other analysts were saying about this. Chardon has that $10 price target. Oppenheimer has one from the beginning of August at 16. Chardon had that 10 that they already maintained. And Oppenheimer actually already lowered their price target once. So Zura here, price target of 10 and 16. Those are both recent ones. It's the 10 price target maintaining the buy, price target 10 from Chardon that's causing this to move here today. At least that's what it looks like. As 13 would say, Wall Street as leaving the you know what? I totally missed that. I'm sorry about that. It's obviously 10:38 here, so we missed that 10:30 spot by 8 minutes. Things did seem to slow down here. Of all of the indices here, Dow is pulling the most. Dow is actually at the lows. The SPY's turned around, the NASDAQ has turned around, but Dow the weakest of the indices here. Dow down 0.39%, NASDAQ down 0.29%, and S&P futures down 0.25%. Lion, take care of yourself. Thanks for all your help here today, and thanks for all of the group here for hanging out and helping in the absence of 13 here. Really appreciate it. Be sure to smash up that like. I recommend naming a pet after one of your favorite movies so that you can quote that movie indefinitely. Not a bad plan there. God, Amanda, we're getting to the season where I watch Home Alone several times. I can't wait. I'm going to be thinking about your cat all the time now. DPro continuing to move higher here. This was a really good mention on DPro. We did finally get through the VWAP. It took a little bit. This just goes to show you sometimes being patient in the regular session is the way to do it here. DPro might finally be moving. I would say for a trade here, I'd be a little bit nervous. I'd probably trade this against the VWAP if this were me. No position for me. Remember, $9 your upside target here on DPro. Folks, 5 minutes until we have an all access here. 5 minutes on that. Ryan, Barat, Ryan, can you check Palantir? It's consolidating great. 200 coming, question mark. Let me get the big chart here for Palantir. Barat, I don't know. I can't remember if you were here from the morning session when we were going over some of the news. One of the things that we talked about for the potential government shutdown, some of these companies that rely heavily on government contracts, if the government shuts down, if some of those workers are unable to fulfill their obligations or some of those contracts aren't paid because of the shutdown here, we are speculating that we could have some more downside here on Palantir. Just looking at what you were saying here, it is absolutely consolidating nicely. We are basically just sideways here. We are not breaking down. The other thing that you can clearly see here is that the 9-day moving, the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average are both kind of coming up to the spot that we see ourselves at. So this is what I would say, Barat. I know we're talking about a potential government shutdown here. That's just one possible catalyst. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I have no position to trade for that right now. I would say that if you do not see that, okay, if you do not see a really like a pronounced move down on the government shutdown and we continue to trade sideways and we have some of these moving averages trade up to that, yeah, not only could I see us do 220, but what the hell, Barat? Why not, 200? Why not 220? Looking at the trend line here that originates from Liberation Day and goes through some of the lows and the break spots here, I got 220, 225 as a possible upside target if we're able to get above that 200. That's Palantir, ticker PLTR. Ryan, you can do this too. Every time the cat leaves the room, bye, buddy. I hope you find your dad. I'm his dad. I wouldn't say that. That kind of makes me a little bit sad. The white cat I mentioned has a movie named Olaf. That is a good name for a cat. I like Olaf. Drew, good to see you here, Drew, asking what's going on with Oracle. Let's take a look here. Oracle down 1.5%. Oh boy. Who has a trade on Oracle right now? We have lost the 20-day. Now, the last time we lost the 20-day, we actually had a couple of weeks where we traded beneath it before finally recapturing it. We did that at the same time as we recaptured the 50-day there. To me, I'll be honest with you, Oracle, I see this going to 260 next. C Boogie says, I do. You have a short on Oracle? Because that's paying here. Barat, what do you think here? Just out of curiosity. Oh, he'll definitely find me when it's snack time. That's a good point. Barat, good. I'm glad that you enjoyed that. Barat, let me know what you think here on Oracle. You've just been absolutely a monster in a good way, trading some of these bigger cap names. So really good stuff there. Tennis is Life. Amazon introduces Fire TV 4K Select, billed as the fastest 4K stick under $40. Okay. So first of all, now that I've got a new TV that does a better job broadcasting those 4K things, I am looking more for stuff that is broadcast in 4K, to be quite honest with you. So this to me is interesting. Here's where Amazon looks like on the daily chart. 219, we're basically right beneath the 100-day. Maybe we recapture that 220. Maybe that's some of the resistance that we'll find here today. But if we take a look, let me reset this. We take a look here. Since Tennis's Life has posted that, it does look like this 5-minute candle is trading up on the back of that news. Tennis's Life, that's a good mention there. And then Izzy, you had mentioned RR earlier. You were looking into a potential short report. Was that what this was? Here's RR. This has been on a huge run recently. This started to sell off. Let's take a look here and see what the news said on that. Rich Tech Robotics in a post on X, America's Dependent. This was from Friday. So this is not what, Izzy, if you do find anything on this, let me know what you find here. RR, this does look like some new lows here. It looks like it's actually trying to give up the low from what Friday's session. Okay. Gap fill on Oracle. We're super close and it can happen for sure. Okay, so that makes sense to me. 243.89 that target. Appreciate that. Izzy, thank you for sending that on X. Let me post the link here, and then I think we're going to move over to All Access here. All right. All right, folks, really good stuff. Let me make sure everyone's okay. Yep, we're good. We're good. Okay, folks, really good stuff here today. Again, I apologize on 13's behalf for his tech trouble. Again, I can assure you, based on his very colorful language, he was entirely unhappy about what took place here today. He misses all of you. He's trying all of the suggestions that you gave him. We hope to have him back for tomorrow. I'll follow up with that. In the meantime, though, let's get over to Benzinga's betting extraordinaire, Dan Leach. Let's bring him on. Dan, happy Tuesday, boss. How you doing?
To you two, I'll do my best to make up for 13. I can only try. I can only be like second fiddle to my man 13. But
hey, I've been playing second fiddle for like the last several hours here, so you're good, bro. You're good.
Top fiddle. So first off, congrats on the Bears. I know you want to talk about it a couple weeks ago. That was a great block field goal. 2, is the rumor true that you single-handedly are going to stop the government shutdown?
That rumor is false. I don't think I'm going to stop it. I was looking into doing that. I did not like what I heard from the other side. So flame on. We are not going to stop that.
I believe in you, though. I believe in you.
I appreciate that. And by the way, as far as the blocked kick goes, I don't know if you followed this because you're such a Lions fan.
It cost me $1,000. Of course I did.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, that's your own fault for betting against the Bears, LOL. But also, our long snapper Scott Daly recognized that the Raiders center would continuously move the ball right before they snap it. So Josh Blackwell is his new name. Blackwell, we call him Blackwell around these parts now. Said, you know what? I'm going to time this up. Had multiple opportunities early in the game. He said, boy, I'm really, really close. Coach said, Josh, we need a block. He said, I got this. And he blocked it. Really exciting end.
Credit where credit is due. Raiders needed to score a touchdown. They did it, and that was one of the great blocks I've seen in a while. And listen, I'm a Ben Johnson guy. I mean, I know he's not a Lions offensive coordinator anymore, but he cut his teeth with the Lions, and I want him to do well, except when they play the Lions.
Yeah, that makes, and fair enough, because your Lions put up a 50 burger. So, okay, Dan, what do we got coming up on All Access, buddy?
I've got the King, Greg King, the CEO of Rex Shares. Very excited to talk with him.
Okay, I'm going to get out of the way. You do your interview with the King. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Love you, Rye Guy. Hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I do have a wonderful guest for you today. It's Greg King, the CEO of Rex Shares. He's joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my true pleasure to welcome in the CEO of Rex Shares, Greg King. It's great to be with you today, Greg.
Hey, Dan, how are you doing? Good to be here.
Fantastic. Well, let's get right into it. I know that Rex Shares and Osprey Funds recently launched that Rex Osprey suite of crypto products. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So Rex and Osprey were two different companies. We're sister companies. I founded both of them. Osprey is our crypto brand, and we've been involved with crypto products for about 6 or 7 years. But what we saw around November and then January with the change of administration was an opportunity to really go all in on putting out some innovative crypto products. The environment, regulatory wise, and everything has been pretty rough the previous 4 to 8 years. But this is a constructive administration. So we've launched a suite of product that's the first. There's actually a couple firsts, and I think the one that I'm most excited about is these crypto products. Some of them pay dividends. So if you're a crypto fan, you understand staking rewards. And so our first fund was a Solana-based fund. SSK is the ticker, and it's the first fund ever in the United States to, as an ETF, pay monthly dividends out based on those staking rewards. So this is not a covered call strategy or something like that to sort of manufacture income. This is native income that's inbuilt to the blockchain. So that one's by far our most popular fund. This complex is 2 months old, 2.5 months old, and approaching 500 million in assets already in those funds. So about $500 million has been coming in. We're seeing interest all over, including institutions.
No, it's amazing. Who doesn't want cryptocurrency to pay a dividend? That's pretty amazing, Greg. And we're living. I like to say is we're living in it's an incredible time to be alive, and cryptocurrency is everywhere. When you talk to people about cryptocurrency, obviously most people have heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they aren't the only popular cryptos in the marketplace. There's a ton of stuff going on these days. What are some of the other ones, Greg, that are popular with crypto investors right now?
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at, and so Solana is definitely topical. This is kind of a bet on transaction speed, and it's a purpose-built network to settle very, very quickly. Another one is Ripple, XRP. So we recently launched XRPR, and that is the first to give you spot exposure as an ETF in the US. Super popular. Day one was explosive in terms of volume. That's a bet on sort of cross-border payments and kind of a blockchain version of SWIFT. So the way I think about it is, we're big Bitcoin fans, of course, but Bitcoin is like a disruptive, alternative for gold, alternative currency that's being talked about at sovereign levels, around the globe, which is pretty amazing to those of us who have been involved for 10 years. And then you have Ethereum, obviously number 2, which is a smart contracts platform. And then as you keep going down, and if you just sort by market cap, let's say you've got both Solana and Ripple are in the top 5 or so. We also did Doge, and we did the first staking version of Ethereum. But anyways, as you go down, they're basically software projects, right? These are in some ways tech companies that are purpose built, and so they start to deviate. A lot of times when people first come into crypto, they think everything is trying to be an alternative currency, and that's just not the case. Bitcoin is, and I think is obviously the winner. There's others that are trying that too, but then you have different projects that are sort of built for different purposes, and they're bets more on kind of a blockchain solution being applied to XYZ problem in a certain industry. And we definitely think there's opportunity there. I mean, if you look at some of these bets, for example, Solana's up over 200% year to date. Ripple's up close to 60%. And the exciting thing for portfolios is the correlations to the S&P 500 are very low, right? So these are diversifiers and high growers within the portfolio. But then also, even to each other, there's some diversification where you have like a 0.5 correlation, let's say, between Solana and Ripple. And so that in and of itself, we all know how diversification works in portfolios, helps balance things out and smooth things out. And so I think investors are starting to think beyond just the Bitcoins and Ethereums of the world, and what can we do in the kind of top 5, top 10, and how can we create a balanced portfolio.
No, it's perfectly said. And listen, diversity is important in everything, especially, in crypto as well. And whether it is Solana or Tether, how do you think investors should view these other cryptocurrencies that are not the main Bitcoin Ethereums in their portfolios?
Well, there's a couple thoughts there. So these are, as you go down the chain, these are more the growth stories. Like I say, I mean, Bitcoin is up. I don't know. I think maybe 80% this year. Solana 200, right? So Bitcoin's vol is probably 60% ish. Solana's like 85. So these are kind of like the biotech stocks, let's say, or the tech stocks of the if you draw an analogy to kind of the broader market. So you can take a market cap weighted approach. I think probably a little bit of an overweight to some of those. If you're in crypto to experience sort of the potential for high growth, I would say investors are starting to think about, okay, if I take the top 5, top 10 and market weight them, the problem is Bitcoin is so huge that it's going to be, a massive position in the portfolio, which is totally fine. But we're seeing people that want to sort of downplay that a little bit and then add some of these high growers or high potential growers into their crypto sleeve within their portfolio.
Yeah, which is obviously very important. And I want to talk about staking, Greg. Obviously staking is a great way to generate passive income. Why do you think it's important for investors, and how can they get that exposure through Rex Osprey crypto products?
So bringing the first, so we have 4 funds in this space. There's a lot more coming, and we're able to innovate and bring the first staking funds to market in the US. So the Solana one is roughly paying a 5% annualized yield. Ethereum is actually quite low, but this is a function of those various blockchains. What we're seeing is it opens up a new avenue of potential client, because certain portfolios require they have a goal of achieving a certain amount of income. And, that tends to be a more conservative portfolio, but doesn't mean the person doesn't wish they kind of could have a little exposure to crypto. And this is a nice way to get access to some of those portfolios and for them to get access to some of these strategies while taking a little off the table every time, right? And, in crypto, a 5% annualized yield is, basically not that big a deal. Because the numbers move so much. Right. But in a real world portfolio, a 5% yield, and it's not fixed, I should clarify, this is a variable return. It's based on the staking rewards in the blockchain, but that's nothing to sneeze at. So we're seeing a ton of interest in SSK, our Solana fund. And what's surprising to us is how much it's institutional. And that's also a function of the fact that these are 40 Act ETFs. It's kind of the gold standard. It has the most investor protection. And so we're seeing institutions coming in and really kicking the tires, wanting to understand how these things work and how they can get access.
Yeah, it's amazing how much, as this has become institutional. It really is. I mean, I've gone to some conferences where you can just see that, it's not only here, but this is the future. It's awesome. And something else that's getting a lot of attention, Greg, as you all know, stable coins and the tokenization of regular assets, and with all of it expected to happen on Ether. But there obviously is a group that argues Solana is better for this. Why do you believe Solana is the story for the future of stable coins?
Yeah, so that's you're quoting me from a previous podcast I did, but
I did my research.
Yeah, you did your homework. So here's the thing: is Ethereum's the established player. It's sort of the de facto bet, and that's fine. And there's room for more than one winner in this space. Just Solana's a lot smaller, and Solana is, I think, kind of next generation. Ethereum's had issues in the past with bottlenecks in the system, transaction fees kind of skyrocketing, et cetera. And if you remember when NFTs were a thing, like there were some issues there. And so it's not quite as scalable, in my opinion, as what Solana's built. Now, there's other criticisms of Solana, but I think that, when the whole stablecoin, I guess, Genius Act thing was topical, everyone's like, okay, this is an Ethereum story. Well, I don't know. It's an Ethereum and Solana and maybe a couple other stories. And then if you look at the relative potential upside, I would bet on Solana. And I haven't done the tracking from that date to now, but I bet you Solana's outperformed.
For sure. And listen, as I love to say, it is an incredible time to be alive, and you're on top of all of this. It's an absolute pleasure, Greg, having you on. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks.
Hey, the pleasure and honor all mine. That was the CEO of Rex Shares, the King, Greg King. Now let's send it back to the guy who drew up that field goal block play for the Bears over the weekend. He alerted the issue on the center. It's the great Ryan Faluna.
I also drew up the fake flea flicker that DeAndre Swift pulled. That play was actually awesome. I'm glad that worked. I cannot believe that he grabbed the face mask at the end of that. That's crazy. Dan, look, we got a couple.
Oh, go ahead.
Say that again.
No, I was just going to say DeAndre Swift for Reliant.
Yeah, no, also former Eagle. You're right about that. Okay, so a couple of things. So we're going to start here with Anne-Marie in a couple of minutes. First of all, great interview with the King there. I'm willing to bet that a lot of our group loved hearing that Solana is the big play there. We talk about Solana all the time here. It's great to see someone else say the same thing. So fantastic job there. Look, coming up here this Friday, do we want to try doing a little bit of like maybe a 5-minute segment on some weekend bets for the college and the NFL slate?
How about a 20-minute segment? But I'll settle for 5.
Yeah, I want to make. Here's the thing: we do stocks here. I just want to make sure there's an appetite for some of the stuff that we do. The last time I pulled people,
20 minutes. But yes,
the last time I pulled people, it seemed that there was. So maybe we'll do that. Let me ask you: we got the baseball playoffs starting today. I'm not going to razz you about your Tigers because I've never seen a collapse like that before. I'm glad they are going to get another opportunity to turn it around and play here. Do you have anything bet wise for baseball?
Yeah, of course I do. And by the way, 2 things. You can razz me all you want. I had the Guardians at 33-1 July 29th that I gave to my clients on DTMSquatchpicks.club. So it's all good. I saw it on the wall. And by the way, it was the worst collapse ever. I'm not just saying that like because I'm a Tigers fan. It was the worst by games, 15.5 ever. So no problems there. But I'm going to give this out right now, and I think the people that are watching are going to love this. I like the Toronto Blue Jays to win the World Series 7-1. Home field advantage in baseball is not as big as football and basketball and some other sports. But the Rogers Center, I was actually there earlier this year. It is a crazy home field advantage, especially when that dome is open, the old Sky Dome, of course. I like the Blue Jays to be the banner of Canada, 7-1. It's the best value right now as we start the playoffs. That could change, but right now, 7-1 on the Blue Jays. Lock it in.
Okay. Really, really good stuff there. Appreciate the little bit of a tease there. We'll see how that pick does. And yeah, we already got one comment here. It looks like we're definitely waiting for that. So we'll try and do some of this on Friday. Let's get a couple of bets you don't mind giving out to the group here. I will do the same. I will prepare a couple for you, at least one for the college slate, and at least one for the NFL slate. Dan, it's a pleasure as always. Really good stuff here. Good luck to your They play today, tomorrow?
They're the first game, 1 o'clock, Tarek Skubal. If they lose today, season's over.
Oh, well, no pressure. Cubs play at 2 Central, so I guess that's 3 Eastern here. Good luck to both of our teams. Dan, really good stuff here today. Great interview. Take care of yourself, okay?
Very kind of you. Pleasure and honor all mine. See you soon, my man.
All right, take care. That is Dan Leach. Not only does he announce stuff, not only does he interview stuff, but he bets and he makes money on it. And we will try and go through some of that also. We are still waiting for Anne-Marie here. Stop me if you've heard this before, but it looks like we've got another technology issue here as her camera was not working. We are going to restart and see if that works. What I will do in the meantime here is I'm actually going to bring up Pro because a couple of things happened while Dan was doing that interview. Jay Rice mentioning NVIDIA hit new all-time highs. We talked about this here. Perhaps this is actually taking the next leg up. We talked about 185 being that breakout spot. Folks, we are at 187 now. So clear breakout here. Let me know if anyone took NVIDIA for a potential trade. As mentioned earlier, we had a bunch of call flow. We had call and put flow, but it was definitely more to the call side. And they seem to be calls that expire this week with the 185 strike. So to me, that looked like at the money calls. We were basically trading for a potential breakout here. And now we're getting that breakout. So let's see what this ends up doing here. Let's see what NVIDIA ends up doing here. And then the other thing, I don't know if Tuna's around anymore. We might have lost Tuna now, but oh my God, we need some sound effects. I mean, the whole 9 yards here. Look at DPRO. DPRO, this bottomed here right at about the pre-market low. So what is this, 790-ish? 790-ish here. Recapture on a little bit of elevated volume. We recaptured the VWAP, on a little bit of elevated volume. Then we started to push away from that VWAP, and look where we stopped, folks. We stopped right at that initial impulse high. Good God, this is really, really good trading action here on DPRO. Even if you missed the initial impulse move, even if you missed the opening impulse move that took us above the pre-market highs, this thing came back in, did not knife, did not break down, but maybe it knifed, but it didn't totally break down. And then it recaptured that VWAP and gave you another move up to the highs. Let's keep an eye on DPRO. Might not be done for the day. Maybe this pulls back down towards the VWAP and gives us another potential setup there. Let's see if it busts above 9. That is DPRO. Smoke Tuna, really, really good call on that one. Let's see here. We are still short Anne Marie. She is trying to restart here. Look, we're just dealing with tech issues here today. So if Anne Marie can't show up, we're gonna park this bus. By myself. We're gonna park the bus by myself. No problem at all. Let's run through some of the other movers that were here and see if any of those set up. IBG, okay, literally right now we are starting to move through that VWAP here. 450 looks to be the spot on IBG. I do like seeing a series of higher lows here within the regular session. I do not like seeing that volume has really kind of come in now. I'd love to see an expansion of this volume right now. That happening on a move away from VWAP here, maybe we do get a trade. IBG would say your resistance area probably 515-ish. We're currently at 456. So some room on that. Let's take a look at some of the other movers that we were looking at here. Here's SPRC. Boy, we had one peak above the VWAP on pretty good volume, and then basically nada ever since then. We tried to test the VWAP again. That came on a very, very small volume here, or smaller volume. Now we're rolling. We're actually losing 6 here. See if we lose these pre-market lows down here, 583. Okay, let's see what else do we have here. Okay, let me keep running through this list real quick. Stack. You're the OG. You got to park this bus, but don't let your speed drop below 35 miles per hour. That is a Speed the movie reference. An amazing Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock movie. By the way, I had the most unbelievable crush on Sandra Bullock when I was a young kid. But technically, that bus was not supposed to drop beneath 50 miles per hour, not 35. It was 50. So, okay. And then Jay mentioning WYFI. Let's see here. Here's WYFI. Jay, you talked about this yesterday. This made a really nice move here, just kind of traded sideways about 26 and some change. We're actually breaking above that. So we're breaking above the intraday highs here. Okay, let me see here. So Anne-Marie's having a problem with the camera. Let's see if we can bring her on without the camera here. Hopefully I'm not bringing her on in a mid-string of curse words. Anne-Marie, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you share your screen?
All right, let's try that. So far, not so good, but let's try it again. I've looked all over for the permissions, so maybe I can get on with Aaron afterwards and find out what happened with this update.
Sure. I'm sure he'd be able to help you there. Real quick, that was a good call there on DPRO. Emery, let me know if you're able to share your screen. By the way, AT said he's available anytime. So okay. No problem.
All right. It's not letting me do that. I wonder if it's the same update
Yeah,
That
you have a. This actually seems like a fairly easy fix. There's probably some hidden permission in there. I'm going to have you drop off here. At, you can hear me. Coordinate with Anne Marie and see if you can get at minimum the screen share on. I think we had 2 stocks that we wanted to
yes.
take a look at. We have plenty of time to do that. So give that a shot here,
All
At.
right.
I'm going to put Anne Marie in the back for right now. Nobody puts Anne Marie in a corner. Come on, but we're going to see if we can get those tech issues fixed there. Let me just okay, Aaron confirmed. Okay, good stuff. I'm going to keep running through the list of movers here. Folks, I really appreciate all of you and all of your patience for being able to stick through the tech issues here. I certainly hope that in the next 23 minutes, I don't have a tech issue. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. But so far, so good here. Kudos to you, Ryan, running the ship all alone. Great job. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Look, the show must go on. That's just the bottom line, right? Show must go on. Real quick here. This is another stock that has been a massive mover and winner for our group on the AI theme. This is APLD. We did not take a look at this earlier, unfortunately. This had a huge impulse move. It's come back in. I'd actually watch this series of higher lows again here. Maybe we cross over the VWAP. Here's what I'd be looking at. Your day trade here. Over if this trend line breaks to the downside. Otherwise, maybe we test that 2269 and move higher. By the way, while I'm flapping my gums here, DPRO new high. So we are actually above that impulse high move here in DPRO. Nice big breakout here. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. Boy, I tell you what, this news on this Army contract, this thing sent it here today. I think, weren't we coming up on a gap fill here? Oh, we actually already filled that gap. Gap fill done. I've got your next spot here, 1160. You want to call that 1150? I wouldn't even fight you on it. 1150 to 1160, your next area of resistance. Maybe you do get a little bit there at the round numbers at 10 and 11, but from the chart, this is what I'm seeing here on DPRO. Dragonfly, after its really good catalyst here. This was the best catalyst of the day, no doubt. I'll see if we can get this company on for an interview. I know we talk a lot about these movers and we trade them based just on the actual movers themselves or just off the scanner and the action. But given this contract here, given everything that's going on, we'll try and talk to this company and see if we can give you some more insight into their business and how things are going there. Supri says DPRO is still moving up. Look, if you guys have this from any of these spots lower, just basically looking at the chart here at a minimum, I think we should be trimming and booking some of those gains, to be quite honest with you. I can't tell you what to do. Do your own thing here, but everyone should be in the positive, given the move that DPRO has put in here. Just don't give that money back. Don't let Mr. Market take money out of your pocket. That's not what we want. Okay, let me keep running through some of this stuff. Oh my God, Krispy Kreme donut made the scanner here. Donut, maybe this is moving higher here. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think Cash Patel bought this because his name starts with a K and Krispy Kreme is K and you got the alliteration going there? Probably not. But just wondering there. Donut here, D-Nut, Krispy Kreme. This actually looks like this is going to try and break and go higher. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Okay, we are right at, $4 is absolutely the next resistance level. This gap that we already filled on the last pump here, this is much ado about nothing, I would say here. I'd look for 4. Then maybe 450. God, that almost seems so round. It's crazy. And then probably 550. 450, 550. Your next upside targets here on D-Nut, at least from looking at this. May run through the rest of these tickers here and see if we got anything. ZYBT, this is a Chinese biotech company. Looks like this moved on volume and came back in. I would be very careful with this one. DPRO, we already covered more new highs there at 930 on DPRO. Here's SciSpark, ticker SPRC. We did hold that low, that pre-market low. Maybe this tries to make another move at the VWAP. Maybe. I would be very, very careful with this. Certainly would put a stop right down here, 585, 580-ish. Would not let it go beneath that. Brea getting mentioned here by Daniel in the chat. Let's take a look at Brea. Brea looks like we did pop to some new highs here. $34 is your resistance. Let's see if we have any other resistance from that crazy impulse stick. Actually, yes, maybe 34 here. So maybe another $1. as some potential upside here on Brea. Gonna be a bit, I think, until we get to this $53 candle here, but this looking pretty good here on Brea. I'll tell you what, this pullback just totally got bought off that 9 EMA. Totally got bought off that 9 EMA. Okay. See if we don't have anybody else here. Looks like they're working on some things. Looks like Aaron is working with Anne-Marie on that. Okay, let's see. What else we got? What else we got here, folks? Oh my gosh, EYPT. This was so this one, you want to talk about other people helping you make money. There was a long thesis on this a few years ago that came directly from the research of Zoltan from our news desk, and it was phenomenal. EYPT was a buy in the 6s. We had a huge move up to 30. This was it. Okay, yeah, this was in 2023. Huge move up to 30. This really kind of came back in here. And I'll tell you something else. Just looking at this daily chart, check this out. We got to actually draw it there. There's your head. There's your left shoulder. Boy, the drawing tool is not doing well. Here's your right shoulder. So this head and shoulders here, I think we invalidated this. I think EYPT right now is invalidating this literally as we speak. I think your next spot here, probably 19, 23, and then maybe 25. 19, 23, 25. This is going to be your next resistance areas based on the chart. Now, what does EYPT do? These do drugs for different eye diseases. I believe, if I recall correctly, Regeneron was the only competitor back when we traded this before. Pharmaceutical company engaged in developing and commercializing ophthalmic products for its treatment of eye diseases. Company has developed FDA-approved sustained release treatments for ophthalmology and preclinical development programs focused on using the core Duracert E and Verisome technology platforms to deliver drugs to treat age-related macular degeneration. So that's what iPoint does here. We don't have any fresh news here, right? Nope. And what did we have on these insiders? Were we having insider buys? Yeah, we did. That was back in May. That was at the end of May. They ended up paying $5. Man, that is a triple from those insider buys. God, we had more insider buys back in August of last year. That was in an 8 handle. We're still a double from there, or almost a double from there. It's maybe a mid-7 handle. Tell you what. All right, I'm going to stick with those targets I just gave you there on iPoint. No position on this. I'd like to trade this again. Maybe I'll do some more digging into this, but this was a massive, massive winner back in 2023. Ryan, Anne-Marie's camera doesn't really matter if she can share the screen. That's what I was trying to do there. I was hoping that we were going to be able to at least get the screen shared there. We'll remember how beautiful she is anyway. Nice little comment there, Zach. I suspect a lot of this stuff is going to be Windows update related. It looks like we've got permissions changed in Anne-Marie's side. 13, I don't know what's going on there. He's diagnosing it. I'm sure we'll get a post-mortem there, but it sure looks like that was the problem. I'm not giving up hope on Anne-Marie here. I know we got 15 minutes left, but we might still be able to get something done here. So. Okay. We shall see. Let's see. How did we do here on zero? Okay, so D-Pro finally pulling off that 933 spot. MLTX had a small bounce yesterday, but is back down to close to the lows. Do we think this will have a significant bounce at some point? I got to be honest with you. I don't think so. If the stock, after a 90% haircut, doesn't bounce on day one, I got to see more of what's going on there to feel good about that. To me, I would just kind of look for something else. We had plenty of other stuff that was moving around here today. Ondas here. I know we were selling off out of the open. Ondas pretty much back to highs 820 ONDS. on this. I think that pullback, basically, we just needed to hold that area there. Became a Benzinga Pro lifetime member over the weekend, but I think I jinxed the channel with technical problems. Tom, I can assure you that you did not jinx it. You did not play into any part of that. Welcome to the Benzinga family. We hope to see you in happy hour. We hope to see you in the happy hour chat. Remember, folks, for all of you that are looking for that, we do have a chat room. It's the little chat icon in the upper right corner. Not only does Anne-Marie have her own room, but 13 is a moderator in the happy hour chat room here. Actually, here's a recap of yesterday's happy hour show and all of the stuff that we discussed. So be sure to check those two things out. Okay. Amanda says, I can't get over the price of app right now. Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. I can't either. Okay, it looks like we're good to go with Anne-Marie. Let's see. Anne-Marie, how are you?
I don't even want to tell you what actually was the problem today.
Oh, okay. We're gonna save you some embarrassment. We won't even go down this road. Let's just immediately dive in. We had two potential stocks here. Let's talk about them. PayPal was the first one. CNC was the second.
Okay, so I looked at both of those. I actually also have a couple more if we have time to squeeze it in, but let's hop in to PayPal and see what's going on. It's actually gearing up for a move. And so right into earnings. So I think there's a pretty good butterfly sitting here. So let's take a peek at the chart. If we take a look at the weeklies, we can see we're caught between about $71 and $65. And so we expect to expand out of that range fairly well. And so we should expand either back up to 78 or below to 79. Now, seasonality tends to show this one as a little bit negative over, let me double check. Yeah, a little bit negative over the next month or so. So let's go in here and have a look. So we can look at November. It really tells us that the short sort of ends around October 29th, and then it has a little bit of an upshot. And so if we want to take November's because it's a little bit cheaper, we might be able to see price action that we need to take off in a bit of a tranche. Maybe it bounces right up after earnings and then gives everything back, or maybe it fades down into earnings and then gives everything back. And so my thought is the 65.60-55 butterfly on the put side, and then the 72 to 77.50 to 82.50 on the call side. So here's the majesty of this. Because it's sideways and the pocket is so big, both parts of these butterflies can work. What you want to look for is the savage dip down to cover the put side, and then you let the call side move to the up to a recovery. We actually did this in Micron because of this price action. It really worked out very nicely because we took both sides of the formation and we said, hey, listen, into earnings, let's take a call butterfly and a put butterfly. It came in past earnings, gave us that butterfly. The put butterfly gave us money, and now the call butterfly is still working on that edge. And I think PayPal will do the same thing for us.
Okay.
All right. The next one you had was CNC, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So this one's been in a bit of a sideways channel for a bit. And if we look at a 10-year formation, we can see that this sideways pocket really gave it a lot of trouble for almost 2 years, right? Half of 1 year, an entire year, and then another year as it breaks through the top. And what it looks like it's doing is rotating back to the upside again. This is before earnings. We have buyers that probably came in at around 40 and then said, ruh-roh, and then left. And now since that last earnings event, it's trying to hold the bottom, and it's outside of this candlestick that's very big, but also outside this candlestick that's carrying the most volume. So this looks like it's got an upside draft, and that upside draft could take us 40, maybe 45, depending on what the chart has going on. But essentially, you could look at both areas doing something into the earnings event. And that earnings event is on the 29th of October. I forgot what seasonality said. Hang on 2 secs. All right, let's see. Whoa. This one's got...
We don't get many woes regarding seasonality.
Yeah, this one drops off a cliff into the latter part of, yeah. So this one could look pretty good, actually, on an upside rotation in terms of carrying things back. The question is, how long do you want to hold it? If you say to yourself, hey, why don't I ride the seasonality train into December, you could use the 3750. That one might be a little bit expensive, to 4750 to 5750, and that's about $1.55, but it's got $1,000 upside there if you want to ride it straight into seasonality. So it's got, let's see if we put this at 90 days, what it gives us. Yeah, it doesn't have a bad framework right there. Now, if you're thinking, hey, let me trade both sides of that, let's say it has a dip into earnings, or let's say you want to trade this to the earnings, you really could try November. Oops. November's just round numbers, I reckon. It doesn't go up that far. Okay, so 3750 to 45 to 50. That's going to give you something that's net positive, because if it runs right over 45, you're still going to have $2.50 to the good. So this butterfly is unbalanced in the favor of the call side.
What if we tried it with the 40 and balanced it out a little?
Okay, so
instead of the 37, just the 37 and a half, instead of that, what if it was 40, 45, 50?
Yeah, there you go.
That to me seems like just the pricing makes it more appealing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can certainly do that. If per happenstance you think, well, maybe it retests 30 before it heads up there into earnings, right? So notice we had 2 weeks of downside flow, and then it moves up. You take the end of the November event. It should do it for you, but you could easily say 30 to 25 to 20. And that gives you an opportunity for both sides of that to look pretty good, because it definitely has got it's got some vol, right? It's got a fair bit of vol.
It does. And ever since the whole like healthcare fallout thing with United Health and the other stocks that it's bled to, I feel like these chains are traded more as well. So I think you're gonna have plenty of volume to help you with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The last one I want to go into, if we have time, I can go really quickly, is
we got 3 minutes here because we do have Paul coming up next.
Yeah, no problem. We can look at Next Energy. And so either these guys are going to have themselves a fade to 70, or they're going to get up to 80. And so again, this is another one. Earnings coming 10/23. And so this is another one that could have a whipsaw that will give you both sides of the equation to trade. And I'm seeing a lot of formations that look like that. And so if we use November, we can see the 70. Whoopsie. We can do the 70, 65, 60, which is 46 cents, and then the 80, 85, 90, which is 56 cents. So a little bit over $1 for that one. And I think it's going to have a fair bit of legs if it actually does what I think it ought to do, which is whipsaw in both directions.
Okay. And then basically you would just take them off as it moves in your favor.
Yes, exactly. If it comes way down, you cover the put and you wait for the call to recover. If it goes up, you take the call off and you wait for the put to recover, because the overall formation is a gigantic sideways pocket.
Yeah. Okay, Anne-Marie, really good stuff here. Look, before we go over to Paul, let me see if I can get this question out there. Ryan, in Anne-Marie's charts, the line that continues in the price is a study that she was developing and is private. But could she tell us what it's about and if we could buy it at some point? Where could they throw money at you, Anne-Marie?
So this is actually a seasonality ribbon, and it's still in testing. It's still in beta, and so to be determined. How about that?
Okay. Well, you know what? That's a good question nonetheless. Rooney, I will continue to press her on this politely. But I will continue to press her on this as we get more data about this. I too, if it was something that you're still testing, I too wouldn't want to give that out without having the proper testing. So, okay. Anne-Marie, really good stuff. We fought through the tech issues as per usual. We're not going to see you on Friday, correct?
No, correct.
Okay. So no Anne-Marie on Friday. We'll be back here on Tuesday. I'm glad we were able to get these done. Anne-Marie, have a great rest of your Tuesday.
You were such a trooper today, dude. Go Ryan, everybody.
Ain't never been shook. That's just how it goes. We're going to play the hand that we're dealt. Anne-Marie, thanks so much.
Right.
Really appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next time. Folks, that's going to be it here for today. Next is going to be Tech Tune-Up with Paul Meeks. You don't have to go anywhere. I'm going to send you over there. Thanks everybody for your input here today. Thanks for all of the nice things and all of the well wishes. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. I'll catch you tomorrow. 13 has a backup computer, so he'll be here too, regardless of what takes place. Have a good one, everybody.